We're just busy chasing everybody in, and obviously a lot of people are still arriving, so let's give them a chance to come into the room. All right, ladies and gents, I think let's kick off. Welcome here at the Transport Forum. Today it's the 7th of May 2025, and we've been looking forward to this event being hosted by Transnet Port Terminals and with Standard Bank as our venue partner. Obviously, there will a lot of people still arrive and enter the room, but I think we should start not to fall behind in our schedule. Ladies and gents, we very blessed in having this event nowadays on an annual basis. And Jabo, thank you very much for always supporting us and using the Transport Forum to also engage with the industry. We really appreciate that. And it's a privilege for us to be able to be involved with Transnet Port Terminals and to make everything work for freight in South Africa. And we recognize the important role Transnet is playing in our industry, and we appreciate what you are doing and supporting this very forum as well. So we really appreciate that. Transit Forum, those of you who don't know, it's been running now for 18 years. March was the birthday. We've been 18 years in this current format. So it's quite a number of years we've been doing this. And as you obviously noticed that the Transport Forum events are all complementary. Also, the related content on our website is complementary. So we've got valued associates and partners and media partners and so on making the Transport Forum possible. And Standard Bank obviously being one of them, a gold sponsor. C-Track is our platinum sponsor. They've been involved from the very start of the Transport Forum in 2007 already. So we would like also to give recognition for them. But in terms of our theme today, Transformation for Growth, it's a topic that Transnet Port Terminals suggested for this event, and that's very relevant. And clearly they've got lots of good news they're going to share with us today, and we're looking forward to that. I'm not going to stand and read through the program. You all have the program. You know what's going to happen, but we're going to have Mr. Jabo Ndaku, the Chief Executive of Transnet Port Terminals, also going to do the official welcome, and then the opening address will be done by Mr. Solile Tsohalo, who's the Group Chief Operating Officer of Transnet SOC. So I will bring them to the podium just now. But let's have a look at the valued sponsors for today and the Transport Forum per se. So there's the second half of our program where the terminal executives will also present to us. Oh yes, let me mention at the end of the event, you will see there's a lucky draw. So we're going to have a little bit fun at the end of the event. There's yet another carrot for you to stay till the end. I know that the content will be worth your while, but so you can see on the desk there, they've got two items there. We're supporting the local industry. Yes, so we bought two items, both valued more than 700 rands, and you might be the lucky winner of one of those two lucky draw items. So it's just a little bit fun. And then obviously at the end of the event, we're going to enjoy lunch sponsored by Standard Bank. So the Transport Forum, I just want to mention there are different levels. You can see we've got industry bodies, associates. That's in a formal agreement with the Transport Forum. Obviously, there are many associations involved with the Transport Forum, but these are in a formal agreement. We've got then media houses, Railways Africa, Freight News, Engineering News and Focus on Logistics and Transport. And then we've got gold sponsors and platinum sponsor being C-Track. So those are our industry associates. Later on in the program today, I'll show you a short video where you can see more about our sponsors and so on. C-Track being our platinum sponsor. It's a leading provider of innovative telematics solutions, and they're talking about their Crystal software, and they've also got the exhibition here in the reception, so you're welcome to visit them. And then we've got Standard Bank, our venue partner for today. I would like to play you a little corporate video of Standard Bank. It's an online video I'm going to play for you. Sorry, wrong button.
Purpose is Africa is our home, we drive our growth. And driving Africa's growth goes to the nature of an institution that we are, which is an organization that is at the center of the economy, giving people the ability to pay, to borrow, to invest, and by ensuring their assets. We do all of this to fulfill that purpose of a financial institution, which is to help people to become active economic agents and contribute to economic growth.
We have found increasingly that we need to impact the communities that we operate in a very positive manner. We need to conduct our business in line with international best practices. We are signed up to the Equator Principles, which helps to protect our environment. We want to make sure that we're investing in infrastructure. We want to make sure that we're deepening financial services so that more and more people have access to financial services.
You can never provide a full service offering to the clients if you don't do so on the basis of an integrated standard bank offering, i.e. a universal bank. When we look at types of projects and companies and individuals that we fund, we have to be sensitive to the impact that they make on those communities. Do they contribute meaningfully? Are they ethical in their own behavior? Are they sensitive to issues of environment? Are they sensitive to the way they undertake and develop their own projects and initiatives? And Standard Bank believes very, very strongly in ensuring that ultimately the growth that we desire is a growth that benefits everyone.
We finance the building of airports, bridges, ports, which contribute to economic growth and contribute to the hard infrastructure that society needs for development.
How do we show up in such a way that is real and human in our customers? And it goes both ways. How do we see customers as individuals, but how do we also show up not as a monolithic bank, but as a human bank, as a local bank? And you might say that it's sort of is a bit of a paradox because we're a universal bank. It's true, but we are a universal bank that feels local, that feels real.
Countries in Africa embrace democracy, embrace good macroeconomic policies, they will attract foreign capital, into their economies. And we as a group are well positioned to access those capital flows and also help drive investments in the right sectors.
Thank you, Standard Bank. Let's give them a hand for catering for us today. Thank you very much, Kathy. Yes.
Can you come up again to your left? Where you can end, just again outside. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. They heard me.
Thank you, Kathy. We'll forgive you for this one. All right, ladies and gents, I also want to draw your attention to the Business Directory of the Transport Forum, where we allow companies to be listed on our website. very popular. We've outsourced this to Olga Mashulu from Boleng Bontle Consultant. She's doing the administration of the business directory. She also invoices you straight. So it's no income to the transfer forum, all going for this BE company. But it's very popular, and it's only 450 rands a year, and you will then be listed, and it's quite popular. So you will receive an email afterwards, asking you whether you want to be listed, and Olga will contact you. The presentations you see presented at this forum, including today's presentations, will be uploaded to our website. You can download them. I'm just running quickly through this. And you will see there's on the website a little place where you need to log in. And so to protect our information, you need to log in, and so that we can obtain your contact details. That's the deal according to our POPI Act policy, so that you can complimentary download presentations, or you can create your own account of us if you do not have one yet. It's all complimentary. And then once you've got an account, you go to events and you go to downloads, and then you'll have a little search engine. And two ways you can search. You can use the top field, find by title or description, or you can use the bottom field category, and the category is actually the day of the event's date. And you search, and it was searched through more than almost 1,000 presentations presented over the past 18 years and give you all the results. So it's a very, very powerful knowledge base. We're very proud of it. All right, so that's about it. I would then gladly introduce you today to our program and our Chief Executive of Transnet Port Terminals, Mr. Jabu Ndaki, who's going to do the formal welcome first. Thank you very much, Jabu. Oh, we can just play the video, and then that will you.
Sorry. Good morning. Okay.
So when have been used.
Stories not about this. I see the program customers and asking, but whether services to run because whether it was not long ago. Oh. And so the kind of thinking services was never what is. What if it's no one was able to put it on. Now, what's telling us that it's overcoming the technology. Not the website. So as far as that goes, we have to ensure that it's not sense. Because yeah, talking about internet still in science. The mission includes the role of those providing solutions. Yeah, solutions. We've got to get ready. Such as evolving world.
our biggest bulk handling facility, which is Saldanha IoT, as well as the container terminals, which is CTCT and CTMPT. We also handle then the multi-purpose and bulk commodities in that region as well. Our purpose remains the same, that we want to deliver an integrated, efficient and safe, reliable and cost-effective cargo handling services in Southern Africa. And our vision remains the same, to be a globally recognized regional terminal operator of choice. Our value drivers, we need to be financially sustainable. That is very important to us. We need to be efficient, so that you can appreciate what we do. We also need to continue growing your business. As you grow your business, we need to be in sync with you as you grow your business as well, and be able to handle the additional business that you expect from us. Our priorities, we need to be cost effective. Otherwise the business will not be sustainable. We are striving to be a customer-centric organization. Is something that we are working very hard on, and we will be focusing on that this year. We are prioritizing our asset utilization. As you will see in the presentations that will be coming, we are investing quite a lot, and we also want to ensure that the assets that we're getting in are utilized properly. People are the cornerstone of our operations. We are a labor-intensive organization. If we cannot get our people connected, motivated, and in sync with the operations, they won't be able to deliver the value that you expect from us. So there is a lot of work that we are doing to ensure that we are in sync with our people, and I do hope that as we believe that we are improving the morale of the people that are working for us, you are feeling that as well. It must not be something that we ourselves internally appreciate, but it's something that you should be aligned to. Safety, as always, is important. We need to ensure that the people that do these services on your behalf are safe, are able to go back to their families. We also need to ensure that when you enter our facilities, you are also safe. When you send your customers to our facilities, they need to feel safe, that they are in a safe environment. We also need to be safe about the cargo that we are handling on your behalf as well. I've already touched on the businesses that we are handling, which is autos, bulk, break bulk, and containers. As TPT, we draw inspiration from the Springboks. I think there's no any more motivating story in South African than what Rassie did with the Springboks. I mean, he took the team that I think all of us were thinking was hopeless in 2018. And at the time he took the job, he believed that we could win the World Cup. And he did win the World Cup. When all of us thought that we have reached the pinnacle and the hunger is no longer there, he repeated the feat again in France, chasing the sun. So we do believe that we will be inspired by that theme to motivate our people to deliver the value. Colleagues, thank you very much. Welcome to our forum, and I hope that it will add value for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jabu. This was great. Sorry, we had just a hiccup there with the audio and we had to sort it out quickly, but all gremlins sorted on the stage. Let's just give this gentleman opportunity to enter the room. All right, ladies and gents, the next presenter then will be Mr. Sole Lechualo. He's a Group Chief Operating Officer of Transnet SOC. And yes, he's going to do the opening address for us. Thank you very much, Sole.
Good morning to my colleagues that are in here, the customers that are here, and the people that are online. And there are some friends, old friends, no foes in the room. And just a quick one. Jabu finished 5 minutes earlier, so I'll take his 5 minutes just to introduce myself. He thought I was saying to him that he's taking too long when I just wanted him to continue. The slides had gone off. Just history with Transnet. Those that know that I did join Transnet in end of 2004. And now it's like deja vu. When I joined, those that were around will know that the shipping lines had imposed a surcharge in South Africa. We were paying a lot more than any other country in the world because of our poor efficiencies. We had a Durban container terminal that was totally already, it was falling apart. It was full. There were strikes. In fact, day one when I started, there was a strike at DCT, and I had to start working on creating relationships with the employees, relationships with the customers. It was a tough time. So I'm seeing deja vu, and the results after 5 years that I then was in Transnet, we ended up with a Pier 2 that was almost double the size, with a lots of new equipment. Pier 1 was created from nothing, didn't exist. And at that time, we commissioned a point terminal, also just started operating 2004-5. We built Kucha, a container terminal from nothing, designed, developed, managed in terms of the construction until the end by us, not by people from overseas or anywhere else. We modernized Cape Town. Those that know Cape Town container terminal, it was a straddle carrier. Oscar, who's here, was the terminal manager in those days. It was the worst kind of performing terminal around because the equipment didn't work. It ended up being quite brand new with all the brand new equipment and sophisticated systems and people that they were trained to operate. Even PE, that was a terminal with second-hand equipment, was even operating well. So what the reason why I'm mentioning this is that there was a history where Transnet was in a situation where all of you that were who were interfacing with the port were very unhappy, and Transnet managed to turn that around and resulting in the surcharge being lifted and obviously us having more than enough capacity to handle what the country required. On the rail side, also there were the same similar issues, and we know that a lot of locomotives were procured. Unfortunately, that procurement had some hohos in it, and we ended up now with most of those locomotives now standing, and for things that you've read about in the media, and then we ending up back to where we were prior to all of this investment that was done. Just referring to port and rail. My interface with this environment did not end when I left Transnet during the Soccer World Cup. After all of these projects were done, I went into construction and manufacturing, dealing with mines. I still maintained railway lines. I still built railway lines. I still supplied products that were utilized in mining and in construction, in building, in rail. And then I went into transport, and one of the organizations that's sponsoring here was a member of those in terms of the Road Freight Association. So I've been on that side of it. Some of my competitors who were also buddies that we worked with in that organization, some of them are in this room. And then obviously I've been exposed to the problems of Transnet from the other side. So as I speak here, I don't speak only as a Transnet person. I speak of somebody that has been interfacing with this industry for more than 20 years. So I know I've just come back last year in July, and some people think I'm just 8-9 months in Transnet. I've been with Transnet for more than 20 years. All right, my presentation will touch on Transnet. I mean, some of the things that are in the presentation you know about, but it's good to sometimes reflect on them in terms of where we are. So the role of Transnet in the economy, just to remind you, Transnet obviously composes of these 7 businesses, and some of them you may not be aware of. Some of you may not be aware that we now have a new operating division called the Rail Infrastructure Manager. And that's the one that owns all of the rail infrastructure, 30,000 kilometers of rail, and it's there to make sure that that is made available for rail operating companies to run on it. We know currently the main rail operating company that's there, it's the one next to it, which is Transnet Freight Rail, which maintained the same name, but doesn't own the infrastructure anymore. The infrastructure sits outside of that, and Transnet Freight Rail now operates trains. You know, will plan the trains and operate them on the network that's managed by the Rail Infrastructure Manager. We have Transnet Rail Engineering that supplies all of the rolling stock to Transnet Freight Rail, maintains them, manufactures new equipment or locos and wagons, and maintains those to be obviously utilized by TFR, but also supplies the same service to other private operators and neighboring countries, rail operators. We have the National Ports Authority that you know about. By the way, the Rail Infrastructure Manager is in the same lines as the TNPA, owning the infrastructure and obviously being able to lease it out to other players. That TPT is the sponsor, one of the sponsors here. So TPT obviously is one of the divisions, and then we have the pipelines that keep Gauteng wet with fuel, and then we've got Transnet Properties that own all of the non-operational and some operational properties, but mostly non-operational properties that are scattered all over the country. So that is what Transnet is about. You know, it's all of this put together for the benefit of the South African society. Our location in South Africa, you know, it's really good for to link up countries. If you know the Suez Canal now, there's a problem there. Ships that aren't going through the Suez Canal are coming around the tip of Africa. By right, we should be having the biggest transshipment terminal in Africa, at the tip of Africa. You know, there's a challenge for us to achieve that, but we play quite a pivotal role in the economy. We know that most of our mines and our manufacturing facilities sit inland, and all of that have to be moved all the way down to the coast. When Transnet is not performing, same as trucks, when Transnet and trucks don't perform, South Africa stops. I know I come from RFA, so I will talk about without trucks, everything stops. Without Transnet, it stops even worse. You know, if you combine the two and you stop the two, the economy doesn't work. So there's a high dependency. The message I'm trying to give is that the economy is dependent on Transnet working. Transnet works with the road freight. The two are interlinked. Those that think that rail and ports can exist without trucks, I come from trucks, I can tell you that's never going to happen in our lifetime. The two are interlinked. It's one ecosystem that supplies services to the rest of the economy, the mining, the manufacturing, the agriculture, and you name it. All of that are dependent on the road and on the rail and the ports and the pipelines to operate. All of these things work together as one system. So that we play quite a big role in that. And obviously when we don't perform, we affect the economy, we actually throttle the economy. So then it becomes the speed of Transnet becomes the speed of the whole economy. So that's why we are now under pressure, because the rest of you and other manufacturers have now identified us as the reason why they don't perform. In fact, before I joined Transnet, every time I see a company releasing results, I'm waiting for that paragraph that's going to say they're not performing because of Transnet, even if that's not true. But yeah, it became a good reason. In fact, before Transnet, we knew it was going to be Eskom they're not performing because of power cuts. So right now, Transnet, obviously, for the last, before 18 months ago, and even it's still continuing now, but 18 months ago and earlier, all you read about was how much people were losing, how much money people were losing, or how many business opportunities were lost because of Transnet's poor performance. So we as Transnetters obviously don't like that. We're now feeling under pressure. We know that we have a duty to perform. It's not just work for us. This is our calling. That is one of the reasons I'm back in Transnet. It's our calling. We are there as members of the society that are supposed to open up this logistics system for other people to export and to move their goods around the country. So when we don't perform, we throttle the economy. If I could just stop there. So our mandate, simple. Jabu actually touched on it. I'll just continue with it. We have to lower the cost of doing business in South Africa. We actually have to make South Africa competitive when it's compared against other neighboring countries and other logistics systems around the world. So products coming from and mining products coming from South Africa are competing with mining products from Australia, from South America, from the rest of Africa. So we need to lower the cost of doing that in South Africa so that we can compete with the others. We have to enable economic growth, and there's a repeat of what I said, and ensure security of supply through providing appropriate ports, which I've shown there, the rail and the pipeline infrastructure, as well as operations in a cost-effective and efficient manner. Jabu indicated in detail the duty to have a low-cost port system. And then we obviously have to be competitive when compared with others around the world. We know that we are not yet there. And as I present, please, I say it upfront. We know that we're not performing at anywhere near the levels where we need to perform. So we're not standing here to tell you that we are the best since sliced bread. We're not. So in terms of our intent, we have to improve the competitiveness of Africa's freight system. We have to collaborate with the private sector, by the way, that's coming. And in my presentation, you see a lot more of that. We have to practice good governance. The reason why we have so many locomotives now standing and some of our ports not operating right now, we don't have enough equipment. At some point, and I mentioned 2010 when I left, brand new equipment. Somewhere along the line, after 5 to 10 years, this equipment was supposed to have been refurbished. See, this equipment was supposed to be replaced. And it never happened. Why? Another governance issue. Now, 15 years later, you're sitting with equipment that some has reached the end of its life 5 years before. Some should have been refurbished 5 years before. And now we sit in 2025, another 10 years later, and we didn't do the work. And when you look at it, it's some governance issues that crept in and resulted in funds that should have been directed at this activity that I'm talking about that were not. And the rest of it, I think you can read about in the media. We need to grow market share, our market share of the world, not just market share of Transnet in South Africa. You're saying market share of the South African system compared to the rest of the world. And then obviously there must be some financial sustainability, not just of Transnet, of the South African logistics system. All right. In terms of the policy and the regulations that drive us, just taking you through this, and some of this, as I said, it would be a repeat of things that you already know. I hope the slides are visible, because on the laptop here, they're not so visible. We've got the National Rail Policy. This is the policy that resulted in Transnet having to split the infrastructure manager from the rail operator. So that's the biggest impact that it has on Transnet. This policy, Transnet's role is to execute, is to implement policy. Transnet does not write this policy. So the ones that I'm going to remember, written and approved by government. Transnet is a government organ, or say, it's a state-owned entity, and the role of Transnet is to execute. And the execution of the rail policy resulted in us separating the rail infrastructure manager and the rail operator. And that is leading to allowing access to other privately owned train operators. And those that are aware of what's happening right now, there is a network statement that's out there where people have now responded or are expected to respond to the network statement by saying, I want to operate a private rail and I need a slot here or there or there. And so that process is carrying on, and that's as a result of the rail policy. So some months down the track, obviously there'll be announcement as to who are the new train operators, where they operate on the network, remembering that we've got 30,000 kilometers of this network. And then we will have a situation where in South Africa, we not only have the state-owned rail operator, we have privately owned rail operators. And then what it's also resulted in is that there are private sector has been invited, not just as rail operators, but also to participate in the infrastructure side. So you will see that later on I'll touch on the PSPs. Let me not jump ahead of myself. There is a freight logistics roadmap. Remember, the president said to put together a national logistics crisis committee, NLCC, and from that body and the people that were brought in from private sector and consulting bodies that were brought in ended up with a recommended freight logistics roadmap that was adopted by government to improve the rail infrastructure and expand the network capacity, to strengthen the integration of land transport that is now road and rail. That whole roadmap, without me reading through the whole thing, the whole roadmap is in place, and we as Transnet are expected to execute elements of that. And in there, private sector participation is quite big. In fact, what the freight logistics roadmap is saying, Transnet can't fix this logistics by itself. You need to bring in private sector players in there with their funding and with the technical knowledge to actually add to what Transnet can do in order to create capacity for the rest of the economy. There is the Economic Regulation of Transport Act. We know that this act is now resulting in there will be at some point one economic regulator that combines the port regulation, the road regulation, the rail regulation, and others into one regulator. And then obviously that will be it will then the tariffs that are applicable for the network, the infrastructure manager, will then be included here. The ports ones will be included in the same regulator. So this act is creating a totally new and unknown world of regulation, but all meant to create competition in the sector and to regulate the pricing in the sector and to make South Africa competitive and facilitate the introduction of private sector into this space. The Port Act we all know about, that was in, as I said, when I joined Transnet many years ago. The Port Act was being introduced, and the same thing of separation then went in place, where the Transnet separated the port operator and the port authority. So it seems deja vu for me again when the separation is happening in the rail. So the Port Act we continue to implement, but what the Port Act has done further is to say that we need to corporatize the Transnet National Ports Authority and have it as a standalone company, not influenced by Transnet. And that process is actually nearing the end, where this entity would be independent of Transnet and allow a lot more private sector participation in the ports. The last one is the National Treasury Guarantee Framework Conditions. What National Treasury has done for Transnet, obviously just before I joined, they said, Transnet, you need assistance from government. Transnet has no money. We will give you a guarantee, not money, we'll give you a guarantee, 47 billion of it, but for you to use this guarantee, there are 33 items that you need to comply to. I'm not going to go through those elements. I mean, they are a non-negotiable. There were 33 of non-negotiable items, which included private sector participation as the biggest one, but there were lots of them. So we, as Transnet, I mean, the due date now has gone end of April, and I'm happy to announce that Transnet managed to comply to all 33 of those listed there. So the guarantee obviously is still in place. No, thank you. Yeah, you can clap there. Definitely. No, I was proud of my colleagues that, it could have been worse. We could have gotten to a stage where, we didn't comply, and then the guarantees is then withdrawn, and you can imagine the disaster that the country would be in. All right, so that's the one. If I could move forward. Yeah, the policies obviously they've got quite a big impact on Transnet. And those that don't know, we, as I said, we're not there to challenge the policy. We're not there to question the policy. We're there to execute. So what the policy does is that introduce new players into the port system as well as the rail. So we now have those coming in, and that enhanced competition, it's supposed to reduce cost of doing business, but also increase capacity, increase efficiency, as intended. And then by bringing in the regulator, also there's oversight over the operations of Transnet and others, and hopefully that will create more competition. There's going to be also this policy also makes it attractive for private sector to invest in rail and ports. So that's one of the things, and also it's encouraging Transnet to collaborate and work together with the private sector in improving this logistics system. So if I stop there, so the oversight, competition, plus collaboration will then together improve the rail and expand the rail, and then will contribute towards shifting cargo from road to rail. I know this sounds sexy. As I say, if I was never in road, I'll be looking at this and say, yes, no more trucks on the road. But I have bad news for you. You're never going to get rid of trucks on the road. So the idea is to create, there's capacity, there is demand in the country estimated at 250 million tons. And that is supposed to be done through rail as much as possible. So rail and ports, obviously. Transnet has to create that capacity to enable that to go. For those that know why I'm speaking about road, and road complements rail. But if I had a way of designing these things, I would say all short haul, road picks it up, drops it at the railhead, rail takes it another long distance, and then hands it over to road brings it to where it needs to be utilized. So there's got to be a balance between what is on rail and what's on road. But we want to all bulk, according to me, all bulk materials should be on rail. I understand that there are other commodities that can be on both road and rail, but all bulk material we should not have iron ore on road, or manganese, or any of these bulk materials. They should be on rail. And in that way, we will reduce the cost of logistics, and will make South Africa competitive. Will also improve the efficiency of the service that is being offered by road and by rail and by ports. So I think the policy's got good intentions. It's how we implement it that's going to make it worthwhile. I hate going over time, but I think I am going to, Harry, I am going to go over time. I'm warning you up front. Normally I don't. So maybe I can save time here. Is that there are a lot of initiatives that drive, we talk about private sector participation in rail, in ports, and in Transnet. So it's not just words. There are a lot of initiatives that are now underway, and I'll quickly run through them. The infrastructure manager I've already mentioned is the first one that is being established, that allows train operators, privately run train operators, to now run on the network. That's one that's been put in place. And then the network statement obviously was already published, and that allows this to take place. And then Transnet has been instructed to dispose of all the non-core properties. So some of them are already on the market. So for those that are interested in buying properties that were owned by Transnet that are not used in the movement of goods, those properties are on the market. And obviously we need to dispose of those, and private sector then is a beneficiary of that. And then the low density lines. Transnet, remember, we've got 30,000 kilometers of rail network, and I think more than half of those sit all over the place and underutilized or unused. Some are so vandalized that we have to uplift the tracks. But those are available for the entrepreneurs that can utilize them. So we really are releasing those to the market to utilize. The third-party operators, the repeat is there, and the other one is the I can't even read that. The container terminals. Oh yeah, the Richards Bay Container Terminal. In fact, that has been awarded. Some lucky company that is known to all of you has now won the rights to set up a container handling facility in Richards Bay, and that actually we have a function to hand over that license very soon, and they will start building and operating there in Richards Bay. The other one is the Lisco. We've now gone into market. What Transnet has done together with government, they've said, look, there are many locomotives and many wagons that are sitting idle in the system, and you are now advertising for rail operators to come in, and they won't have any rolling stock. I say, take all of this rolling stock, put it into a leasing company, fix it, and then lease it out to those train operating companies that want to operate without them having to go and acquire brand new locomotives and wagons. So therefore, that is being set up. These things are available. In fact, train operators are applying to lease some of this equipment, which will be fixed and then made available to operate. So Lisco is on the market at the moment, and it's in the market to request for a partner that will then partner with Transnet. Transnet will probably take a minority role in it, and it will be majority owned by a private sector, and then lease out rolling stock. Other one. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna stop and not go through each one of them. The point I'm trying to make here is that there are so many opportunities for private sector that's creative to actually start getting involved in the movement of freight through rail and ports because of the opportunities that Transnet has opened. And some of these are where the guarantee conditions, some of the 33 guarantee conditions were here, and Transnet has executed on all of them. So it is happening. These are not all theoretical. And the last one point I'd like to make is the minister went out on a request for information to asking the private sector, tell us what you want to do. That RFI is so open. It says, we have our rail there, we have our ports there, private sector, you've been looking at us and criticizing us. Some of you have been coming to us and giving us unsolicited bids. And now we want you to formalize your bids. Talk to us. Tell us what do you think we should do with our terminals? What do you think we should do with rail? What do you think you can do with those? And what do you think the role of Transnet should be with the private sector playing in it? So those that are interested, please write, submit. Because if you don't, you can complain later on and say this and this is not happening. I know some people came, I was sitting with the minister and they were complaining about this, Transnet this, Transnet that, Transnet that. The minister asked a question, he turned it the other way around. He says, look, I've put RFIs out. So it means, you don't have to complain to Transnet or to the minister. You go online, you tell us how you are going to do it. And left it to them. So the conversation changed. The challenge was now private sector. You now have been watching Transnet and criticizing Transnet. Now you have an opportunity to take this over and do it. Now tell us how you're going to do it. And then we will then go out on RFPs or RFQs to say, for people to quote, and obviously decisions will be made on how to include the private sector in a manner that the private sector has now described. not in a manner that Transnet or the government has described. So obviously you'll have a time to ask questions. I'm getting towards the end there. I will finish in 5 minutes. No, I lie. I won't finish in 5 minutes. And I think the last slide is longer than all the slides. All right, very quickly, Transnet has had a strategy. It's got a strategy that was being implemented from 18 months ago. Obviously, optimization and enhancement over 5 years. When you look at rail and even ports, you know, the performance of Transnet has been going down all the way till 2023. It was just declining. From towards the end of 2023 and going into 2024 last year, that decline was halted, and then from this financial year that ended in March, we saw some growth, and I'll just show you some numbers. So we moved from arresting the decline to now, stabilizing it, and now we are in a path of growing, transforming, and then growing Transnet. And this is even before the private sector comes in. So the growth obviously will be exponentially climbing once the private sector joins this expansionary drive. Just going through the. Oh, sorry, that's the slide. I was seeing it, you weren't seeing it. So we had to fix the business and optimize. We transformed the business, and now we are in the growth phase. And the slide I wanted to show you now was just the results of the first 18 months of the strategy. So last year, Transnet had a target. This is measured in tons, million tons moved through the rail network, and obviously rail network and the ports. So there was a target of moving 170 million tons. The previous year we had done 151 million tons. So the target was to do 170. We only managed to do 160. But for us, the important thing is that this was an improvement. You know, we arrested the decline, we turned the business performance around, and now we're growing. Although we did not achieve the 170, we're proud, and I'm proud of all the Transnet employees that gave everything they've got in order to turn the business performance around under very tough conditions without the right type of equipment, and you name it. And this performance has turned around. I want you to give them a big hand, all the Transnetters. But I will be amiss if I don't mention the private sector that played a role also in the turnaround. Most of our customers and associates put effort in this. They joined us with ideas, with technical skills, even financial support, with procurement support in terms of getting equipment and materials that we require. So it was a joint effort between Transnetters, lots of them, and the private sector, especially those customers that were interested in making sure Transnet improves performance. And I believe in this year we are targeting now to achieve in the next 11 months, because 1 month is already gone, achieve 180 million tons. And I think we will definitely do it. In the ports, we were below the target and below last year, but remember the ports is a performance as well as demand. And I think a combination of below par performance plus the demand being lower, the volumes that we achieved last year were lower than the target and lower than the previous year. On auto, definitely we performed much better than the previous year and much better than the plan that we had. On the pipelines, again, a combination of as we know, the pipelines, we don't have refining facilities anymore. That Natref fire that happened, and we importing now finished product, and we now obviously transporting less of that in our pipeline. And then on the property side, the idea was to sell all the non-core properties by the end of the last year, and we didn't sell all of them. So that's in terms of the recovery plan. And then the last slide, which I say can be quite long. I will read quickly through it and hurry and finish in the next few minutes. These are the barriers that we had last year that stopped us achieving the 170 million tons. So we've taken those barriers and we turn them around to say, these are the focus areas. These are the levers for us to now achieve 180 and above. and I'll go quickly through them. The first one is that we've got a network, 30,000 kilometers worth of, but it could be that sections of it obviously carry 80% of the volume that we move in the country. That network has not been maintained for many years. And as I say, I was on the other side, being one of those companies that was maintaining this rail network. And I had to retrench people. I had to mothball machines because Transnet stopped buying the service some years ago. And then the network has got a backlog of maintenance of many years. So now that we need to fix it, we need to bring it back to its original capacity. And our mandate is to get that capacity back to 250 million tons and above. So a lot of work has to happen. We've done the technical assessments, and it shows that it will take us 5 years to actually bring it back to its original plan. We've got detailed plans year on year. We know how much to spend, what to do, what materials we need. The one thing we've identified as number 2 is that to maintain this railway line or to fix it, we need yellow equipment. These are machines that we use to replace our rail, our sleepers, our, all of the work that we need to do to bring back the network. This yellow equipment we don't have enough of in the country. And the amount of work we have to do requires a lot more capacity. So we are trying to find wherever this equipment can be around the world to make sure we can find it and then acquire it together with the private sector partners so that we have enough capacity to shorten this 5 year to maybe 3 years and bring back this network back to its original capacity. And then that will allow then TFR and other privately owned rail operators to operate on a safe network with the right capacity. So that's the second thing. The third thing is that on the rail network, we obviously need locos and wagons, rolling stock that's available, that's reliable when it's on there. So we need to, and here we're talking about the part that's run by TFR, that we need to have enough of those. We need to have the right number of people, the right skill of people in the right places to actually fix this, including the standing locomotives that were supplied by the Chinese. Those need to be brought back. We do have a big factory down the road from here that's producing brand new locomotives, assembling them together with a partner, external partner. We need to bring those into play. So we need enough of those to be able to supply this, and we cognizance of the fact that the new rail operators will then add to this. Right now, with number 4 is that with Transnet, we are plagued by this. And I'm telling you as citizens of South Africa that our fellow citizens are destroying this network. Day by day by day, they're going in, cutting the copper wires, destroying our power supply or transformers. Whatever it is that we have there that's got copper, it's under attack. We are under siege from our own brothers and sisters that are stealing from us, destroying this network. So it's no use us fixing it and bringing it back to capacity when people then just keep stealing them. So securing this network is extremely important, not just to Transnet, to the rest of the country. We're complaining that we are not competitive because of our logistics system, and yet we are the ones that are destroying it. I'm not saying Transnet is clean in this. Transnet did not maintain, but that situation is now made 100 times worse when people destroy it. So the money that we should be utilizing to fix this network in terms of backlog of maintenance is now used to replace what the criminals have taken. If I go to 7 and 8 together, with this one, Jabu and team will cover it quite in detail. We need to replace the container handling equipment and other port equipment. As I said, have not been refurbished. We have a backlog in terms of replacing them. We need to replace those, including the marine fleet, the helicopters and the tugboats and all other equipment that we use in the ports, that we need to bring back into operation to the level that we need to deliver the service to you. And then on number 6, this equipment needs to be maintained. So we need to implement a professionally well-run maintenance system that includes original equipment manufacturers to keep this equipment available, reliable all the time in the ports. So that is something that we need to do. And I'll go back to number 5. From our employees' point of view, I think Jabu has covered for us things that are not negotiable is the health and wellness of our employees. the safety of our employees, plus the members of public that interface with us, the protection of of our environment, not negotiable. But our employees, to get them motivated, to get them to participate in this turnaround, we need incentive schemes that work, that encourage the right behavior. So we're putting that in place. In the ports, we've got in rail participation. Customers are participating directly in terms of helping us to improve. We have not utilized our shipping lines well. Some are already participating, but we believe this can be made even more effective, getting them in to participate with us, to work together with us to improve our ports operations. So we're going to be driving that this year. On number 9 there, we are in the digital environment. I mean, right now, if I was in the old environment, I'll be putting some plastic slides on, which I did for many years to present this thing. You know, we are in a digital world, but the whole supply chain, it doesn't matter where you look at in Transnet, whether it's pipelines, whether it's ports and rail, all need to be digitized. Press of a button, we should be able to make a decision immediately, not sit doing reports and capturing data on spreadsheets and on manual log sheets. So we have a big drive now to digitize the whole environment. And number 10 is that we've started this with the turnaround was started by putting people together in teams all over Transnet. We're going to grow this and make sure we do it in corridors, because it's part of if it's a single corridor, you can't just fix one portion of it. You need to fix the whole corridor for the capacity to increase and performance to increase. So we'll continue having teams. And the good news is that in these teams are customers and other technical experts that are helping us to improve Transnet. So we will continue with that. And we've seen big value in terms of improvement. And then the equipment that we have, you know, we got to a stage where we didn't even have space. By the way, even now, some of this equipment, when it breaks down, you wait, and then you have to order spares that take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We need to have contracts with all equipment suppliers to have spares where they are required, when they are required, and you will find that will improve then the availability and the reliability of this equipment. So the other role that we play as Transnet, obviously, we need to provide capacity before demand, whether it's in port, rail, or pipeline. There are all those projects where we have to put the infrastructure in place before the demand obviously arises. So there will be those projects. And the last one is that as Transnet, we cannot compete with the private sector when it comes to procurement. First, it takes too long, and we pay premium prices when we do it. So we need to reform the procurement regulations so that it supports the modernization of Transnet and making Transnet as competitive as any private sector. It should not take us longer than any other private sector player to procure. We should not pay more than any other private sector player when we procure parts. So these are the things that we from our turnaround strategy this year, we're going to drive quite hard with everybody that's there. I'm happy to announce that's the last. Harry, I did go past. Thank you very much.
Solly, thank you so much. The turnaround strategy clearly is something of significance. I'm thinking of the sentence performance improvement levers. It's even difficult for me to say that word, never mind what you guys are doing. But all those levers are extremely important, and I'm quite certain that we can see that's a well-structured work you guys are doing, and obviously measuring what you guys are doing. And we're looking forward to take your hand and make it work and make South Africa work. So let's give him a big hand for what he's told us. So, ladies and gents, we're going to look deeper in what's happening actually on operational level and at our terminals. We've got the topic here, successes of the past year, immediate readiness plans, and strategy for the next 2 years. We're going to look at our terminal executives. They're going to tell us more what they are doing. And the first one we have here is Mr. Oscar Botchards, and he's the Managing Executive of Western Cape Terminals. And he's going to tell us more about the Western Cape Terminals. Thank you very much, Oscar.
Fantastic. Next slide. All right. Good morning, and it's good to be here, Harry, all esteemed stakeholders, ex-Transnetters. I'm going to take you through the Western Cape terminals, and it's just not about export of wine, export of fruit. There's some other developments also taking place. So let's roll on this one. All right, let's start with Saldanha. Sorry, let's just one back. Okay, let's start with the big one. That's the Saldanha bulk terminal. And last year, our volume throughput was 50 million tons. The capacity is 60 million tons. On rail, we can bring 60 million, and on the export side, it's 58 million. So you can understand the dynamics that we are facing with. Our productivity is about 8,200. It's designed for 9,000 tons per hour. And there's some serious loading over 2 ship loaders. The rate turnaround time was 112. So as Solly has mentioned, it's a lack of midlife refurbishment, upgrade of equipment. All right. So what we've done is obviously there's 2 tipplers at this point of time. The 3rd tippler will be online towards the end of this year. It's a must. We're building with 2 tipplers that was supposed to be signed off probably 6-8 years ago. So with a 3rd tippler coming into mind, we bring in redundancy and new technology. So we can't wait for that. Dean, our GM projects manager, executive, is here just to ensure that takes place. I think the other one that we've also identified is the corridor approach. We cannot function without rail. And a good example was just in the last 2 weeks, we had a reclaimer, a stacker reclaimer out for 21 days. We got partners in to help us with that, fast track in terms of getting down to 21 days. No, but the amazing thing over the last few days was we meet 7 o'clock in the morning, status update. But the joint effort of partners, customers, private, TFR coming into play, TPT coming into play, we're building that, and I think we're right on par to deliver that. But it's hard work, guys. It's stringent in terms of timelines. Remember that if you look at 8,200 per hour, if you don't produce and don't operate at 1 hour, you lose the possibility. But I'm happy to say the last week, the team actually on just single loading and not even dual loading and direct loading, they work with TFR, they work with the customers. They actually produced 860,000 tons in 1 week. And that's the level that's probably right below what we do 1.1, 1.2 on a normal operation. So can you imagine the dynamics of going further into those using as a corridor, customers, rail and port? So I just want to put that forward. The fact is for this year is really to look at part supply and supply of spares coming in. We've done in terms of the OEMs, long-term contracts in terms of what it is. It's belting, it's rollers. Those are the machinery, the mechanical parts coming into play. We have the relationship with private companies. We have with customers to support us to do just that. And I think the important is also getting back to OEMs. We're busy with a condition assessment right now, which will be completed by the end of next month. Coming out of that, it will be then seen how do we then respond to making the plant reliable. And the fact is, if you can remember the one thing, 180 million tons, how does the port contribute to that? And you'll see, that as a minimum to move up from a 50 to a 55 million tons this year. There's our contribution to that particular 180 million ton. It's a non-negotiable. We have to do it. And how we're going to do it is with partnership. It's with participation. It's with our customers. it's the whole Saldanha team. There's a lot of engineering companies at play, so we're bringing them in. On the procurement side, Solly has mentioned in terms of the procurement system, we've managed to put forward actually a process within 3-4 days, just to accelerate. Now, if you look at a year ago or 2 years ago, it would have taken you probably 3 weeks to get it signed off, approved, and getting the resources online. 3-4 days signed off. The team worked tirelessly over a weekend to get it done. And I think that's a commitment that we are seeing as such forward. And even in terms of the development, we have access to engineering companies. We've got engineers, access to our customers just to support. And I believe that last year was to stabilize. We're positioned for growth right now. The elements are in place. The equipment is coming in. The principles of actually having a high production is also in place. We are appointing more people. We are sourcing more resources in and services in as we speak. And I believe that is where we are, that we will see the real turnaround. All right. And then multi-purpose terminal is the other bulk terminal. We've done about 6.3 million manganese. Now, you must remember, on the Eastern Cape, you have the manganese export and also on the Saldanha. The Saldanha line, the Saldanha corridor is highly effective. It's I would say a high-speed corridor to deliver iron ore and manganese. So we're looking at about 6.3 that we've done last year. We've also diverted 1 million tons of iron ore from the bulk to the MPT1. And it's really to help us with a midlife refit. Refit is smaller vessels, however, but we push volumes through. The productivity on the Saldanha MPT is good in terms of the normal basis, but we'll talk about what we are doing now. We're currently with an assessment to look at how can we optimize the Saldanha MPT terminal for future growth, really to move manganese exports to about 12 million tons. But that design, that will ask for better system integration with a big terminal, getting other equipment in as well, because right now it's manual. It's a skip operation. And I think when you look at the future, you cannot proceed with that particular operations. What we are doing right now is just to look at the skips availability to move up to 30 tons. We've got a private operator to look at 30 tons versus 23 tons, and immediately you can shave off at least one and a half days of one vessel on berth. So we've done the trials. It's working with break bulk. We've done the trials with manganese. Is really in terms of moving now forward in terms of that particular one. And that's a quick one. But that will only take you up to probably 7-8 million tons. Then you need to look bigger in terms of that. So we are waiting for that assessment as well. It should be done in the next 1 or 2 months. And then we'll actually see how best we can do partner with private sector as well in terms of the investment and how we can do that. So I think in terms of the handling methods, as I said, we are also getting more equipment in the current format. Resources are being appointed as well. What we also looked at is the slot system. We've got a break bulk and a bulk. So you need to then optimize in terms of slots. And there's 4 berths. So you need to optimize those 4 berths optimally. So you're looking at a slot system to say, fine, I will berth you on day 1, day 2, day 3. It will bring in fairness, but it's also commitment from your exporters. And by doing that, we can optimize all four berths. What we are looking at is reduced vessel stays, improve back of ports. What we find, there's a lot of back of ports that supports us. If you look at the capacity of the terminal, it cannot hold 10 million tons. You need back of ports. And what we are doing now is to say there's about 4 or 5 back of ports, just getting principals involved, getting operational efficiency between the back of ports and us, because we need them. There's no ways you can stack that 1 million tons in the port, all right? So our target this year is to get to 7 million tons of manganese. Bold statement to move to a 10 million tons through that terminal. I think that's a first landmark, big landmark. And I must say that you're looking at a terminal that probably did about 2 million tons 2 million tons years ago, and consistently growing to that. And the potential is huge to even going further by using technology, by using participation. Let's clean a lot of we've done about 627,000 TEUs. The capacity is about 1 million tons on the water side. We've done on the phase 2B. We're gonna expand on it, and I'm happy to say by January we'll start on the phase 2B, and it's really to do with rail upgrade. Number one, as I said later, is the rail upgrade. The landside capacity from 1 million to 1.4 million TEUs. On the seaside, the cranes can handle that 1.4 million tons, but on the land side, we do need that. So I'm happy to say funding has been approved with TNPA, and we're moving forward to that. It's gate automation, it's a rail upgrade, staging area, just fixing the land side, because currently you can only stack 2 or 3 high. We ideally would like to go 4 high at least on the RTGs. And with that, you can then claim 400,000 tons extra in terms of TEUs per annum. We're looking at, we've received already 47 new haulers, reach stackers already received. The first batch of the RTGs came in end of March, being assembled, first batch of 9. The second batch of 9 will be in week 26. And the last batch of 10 we will receive in week 36. Now, why do I hammer this one? It's new equipment. This equipment will operate up to 90 kilometers per hour. Knowing Cape Town, we've lost about, I would say, 3 months last year, just by weather impact. When we did the analysis of the weather, and we're working with CSIR, and we're almost there, so that they can release that particular study and will show us a more kind of a predictive model. What are the wind patterns? What can we do? And it will really help us to prepare. Now, when you look at the wind, we've covered that about 15% of the time it's above 90 kilometers per hour. Now, if you have your cranes plus your landside equipment in sync with 90, can you imagine what you can do? You can claw back of those wasted time that we've seen. So we're quite excited to the very first 9 RTGs coming into play. And with the fruit industry, we are looking at least 18 should be running by November, December, when we start the fruit season. We'll continue with the last 10, and we will phase it out, because the fruit season is from November to April. And with that, we believe that we will spin the whole thing in terms of deciduous fruit exports. We have done about 27% more than last year on fruit, which is remarkable with wind, with old equipment. So next year when we come back here, I don't want to talk about old equipment. I don't want to talk about stuff that we ordered, because it's in play. 4 new straddles as well, we will bring in. It's at the procurement stage right now, and we will know perfectly when that will come in. Then that terminal will be straddles 90, RTG 90, crane 90, in sync. All right. We're also looking at our operators to look at operate at that higher speed. And Dr. Lufuno is our strategy executive. He will then obviously spearhead that to look at how do we then operate within those particular. Because remember, those who haven't set foot in a crane, you're sitting about 30 meters high. All right, the wind pump like this. You need to have grit to actually operate those particular ones. On the land side as well, you're sitting at about probably 20 meters high. And it asks for a special operator to do that. What we do see is we will obviously highlight the specific skills, hone in, and bring those containers in safety, of course, all right? So we need to maintain safety with that. The other part that we are working with is the rail with Balcon. We've seen a huge input in terms of the rail, up to 500 containers per week. up from 100 and 200 containers per week. We are really stressing that and working hard to do that more. Because what we are doing is that during wind, we can actually offload those containers through the rail. The wind is not as hectic on the rail terminal. And with that, we will see, we've done it, we've trialed it. We're going to go full on during the next season to use technology and highlight that so that we can do better. We are doing with the back of ports. Maersk already has a distribution center. It's coming online next month as a phased approach. We are looking at as using back of ports. So Balcon will be the first back of ports. We've already partnered with other back of ports around the port. That is via road. So when we say rail and road, there's still an element of road, all right, but it's be controlled. We've got a lot of back of ports around, plug points up to 400, 200. And what we started this year, last year, is to actually coordinate that. It's really in terms of a push and pull system. It's deliver at the back of ports, we pull in as and when required. And with that, actually a much better control in terms of the trucks also coming in. We're also going into more to say how best can we work during wind, and that we believe that we can do that offloading, loading during high winds, and we need rail for that, and a combination of road. So on the container terminal, I see that's really the spark. We have already seen some private sector participation with 2 generators coming in, very willing. We've engaged into OEMs that's embedded to look at skills, to look at parts, and to help. Remember that the 7 STS cranes will go into a refurbishment program as well. We still have to maintain. But the beauty is that now we bring in a maintenance philosophy that speaks to maintaining, and we should not be in a space where we come in with breakdowns and we can extend life of this particular equipment. So that is the real focus on that. And I'm happy to say that we really start to see some benefits of technicians coming on board. They are on site, they support our guys. We have started to appoint more technical skills. Outsourcing on Cape Town will be the same as Saldanha, bringing in engineering services as well to support that. So yeah, at the end, what is the desired end state in 2026? We will start with the expansion. The equipment will be in place. The rail, we will embed that in terms of the back of ports. Supply, obviously, with our customers as well. They're quite keen. We've done our part in terms of setting the scene. By the end of this month, we'll have a follow-up to embed it. By the beginning of June, we'll sit with the fruit industry to plan already for the deciduous season for next year, for the November one. And there's some great opportunities coming in terms of participation, but also planning. How best to do that planning, because we really want to see that the deciduous fruit season, we actually grow that increase. It's a very tight one for those who knows fruit. It's a 3 months window of high intensity. If the fruit industries do not get their fruit on time to the end market, is lost. Price drops, we lose, jobs are at stake. So it's a very tight. So unfortunately, it comes with wind and high peaks. How do you combat that? And I believe that what we are putting in place will actually just do that. On the multi-purpose terminal, what we've done is really a diversion strategy. It's a terminal, smaller terminal. We've done about 87,000 TEUs. And the decision was to divert vessels from the big terminal to the other terminal. It has worked wonders. It's smaller terminals. There's mobile cranes. We've increased the uptime of that purely with OEMs and our own staff. And we could see some volumes in terms of productivity up to 21 GCH on a mobile crane. We're happy that we'll continue with that in terms of that. There's a high demand for agri, so that will still maintain. There's a very limited time also with manganese, because we really want to move Saldanha and the Eastern Cape as the 2 streams for manganese ore. We'll see a little bit of manganese still going through, But the two anchors will be it will be agri. In terms of where do we do imports of agri and then exports, import of containers. We do see that with engagement with customers, it says productivity will bring more volume. When we bring the consistency, volume will definitely go through. So for us is really a high performance. It will be an integration with rail as well, very important. Rail has been low through the Cape Town. We've seen what we can do through the CT. The exact same we want to duplicate through the CT-MPT. And of course, that will also bring in terms of future investment of the terminal. We are looking at the repurposing of that terminal to make it more clean. There's old sheds to be demolished, number one, new cranes, etc. But rail is becoming more crucial in terms of your agri products and your container products. We are going to increase the reefer capacity at CT-MPT. It offers a niche market for the US. Now, with the trade constraints, I just hope that it will get better. We have a target by the 9th of July to get all fruit out. On the water, it will not attract a higher import tariff. So we're working greatly with the fruit industry to get all the volumes, maximum volumes out by the 9th of July, so that the higher tariff will not be attracted. So I hope we will push forward. We'll create the capacity on reefers, on CT, and at CT-MPT. And I think those are the two niche markets that we're targeting. And I must say that, as I said before, we stabilized. We see this year it's a growth opportunity with investment, with staff coming in, with partnership, with participation. I think as I said, the soil has been prepared. Is right now for us to move forward. Thank you so much.
Okay. For now, start to see. Hey, Vance.
Harry, Oscar and I would like to make a request for Standard Bank to please contribute to our dress code, because we have actually put on the Standard Bank.
Thank you for that one, Solly. I think I'm also there. Thank you so much, Oscar. Clearly focusing on the niche markets, and I think that target talking about 2 million to 10 million in Saldanha Bay, that's significant. So that's impressive. Thank you very much for sharing with us. We're looking forward to seeing what you guys are going to do in Western Cape. Thank you so much. Ladies and gents, our next terminal is in the Eastern Cape Terminals. We had Vandisa Bazi to present, but apparently she can't make it now. And there's Jukile Dambuza who's going to present on our behalf. Let's just see, Jukile, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, sir. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes. So
thank you.
We're going to flight your slides. We just, while you're talking, we're just going to set the audio inside here. And,
no problem.
But you can prompt me when I need to forward to the next.
No problem. Maybe let me start with the formalities. Good morning, everyone, particularly to my colleagues, our customers, and the extended stakeholders that facilitate the movement of cargo in the South African region. My name is Zukile Dambuza, and I am responsible for the planning and commercial aspect within the Eastern Cape Terminals. As alluded, Wandi has asked to be excused this morning due to an emergency that she had to attend to, but I will do my best to represent her well and ensure that I capture the sentiments that she shared. All right, thank you. All right, just noting on overall summary of the Eastern Cape, starting with the 3 terminals, you have the PE MPT that encompasses the container, bulk, break bulk, and the auto operations. Key to note within this recent new developments that have happened in the last year is that we have removed some of the reefer plug points from the auto side and moved them closer to the container terminal area, where we have created additional capacity in the container terminal space for future volume growth. And also noting that this also facilitates better efficiencies within the container operations through shorter distances traveled through by our straddles. So the terminal is currently capacitated with 10 straddles and has 2 STSs that are operational, having recently commissioned a new STS in the month of April, and noting that we also have a mobile hover crane that adds on to as an ad hoc in the event of one of the machines being down to operational brake challenges. NCT is capacitated with 8 STSs, 28 RTGs, 2 RMGs, 3 berth operations, which are designed for container operations. But by design, we do have 4 berths, but we are optimizing 3 commercially for container operations. And in terms of manning, currently we are manning 7 gangs operating 3 shifts. And then in terms of plug capacity, noting that we are also servicing the citrus industry, we are capacitated with 1,652 plug points. On the East London front, we also note that we have the grain elevator. We also have the combi side, where we operate container vessels that are directly operated through vessel derricks. We have the berth for auto, the Roro terminal, which we have a primary customer there, which is Mercedes-Benz. And we do agri and bulk, brick bulk, manganese through the terminal that is railed into East London as well. If we can just go to the slide where we talk to Ngqogha. So on the Ngqogha side, for the last year, we achieved just under 660,000 TEUs. Noting this, we achieved just above 90% of our budgeted volumes for the year. And key to note about the terminal colleagues is that where previous year we ended on 16 GCH, the last quarter of the financial year, noting the last 3 months, we ramped up in terms of performance from November, and we closed off the year at 19.6 moves per hour. Ship working hour, noting that where
Please
we are...
share your screen.
Thank you. So looking into Ngqogha and the performance that we've achieved in the last financial year, as I was stating, we achieved just below 660,000 TEUs. In terms of CTOC compliance, where we are in terms of our commitments to the customers, the industry, ensuring consistency in the service we're providing, we closed off the year at 66% comparing to the previous year of 48%. So there's a significant improvement in the performance that we are delivering in NCT. Noting the performance where we ended off for the year at 16 moves per hour. Q4 was a significant month, noting that from November, there was a lot of collaboration and discussions with external stakeholders in how to ramp up the productivity and ensure that we get to a performance standard that is sustainable, but also to the desire of the customers and ensuring that the movement of cargo is consistent throughout. So we ended in Q4 at 19.6 moves per hour. Ship working hour for the year, we achieved 34 ship working hour, but also noting the results of Q4, where we ended at 45.4. Truck turnaround time, our target is 35 minutes. For the year, we achieved 33.8, but noting the impacts of Q4 as well, where we also collaborated with the harbor carriers and the depots in syncing certain processes to ensure that we could further improve on that. We achieved 30.4 minutes on the truck turnaround time. Rail turnaround time for NCT, we achieved for the year 4.5, but also noting in Q4 we made significant strides and achieved 2.7 hours on the rail turnaround time. So in terms of the summary of the performance of the terminal, a lot has been done in terms of collaborating with external stakeholders, particularly on the points of understanding each other's processes, how we interface with each other, and where the sore points are in terms of integrating systems and processes. So that has been where we've been working towards with the industry and the extended stakeholders to improve these efficiencies. And we can see in the fourth quarter, we've seen the results, and we will continue this year in that direction of collaboration and ensuring that we can sustain and grow from that position. And then in terms of key actions for the year that we are embarking on, one of them is talking to the citrus plants. We've had the onboarding and workshops related to preparations for the citrus season, where we've onboarded and collaborated or designed collaboration strategies for the planned season, and also talking to the volume that is there versus the capacity within the terminals. You will note I'll add to it when we talk to another terminal, when we talk to East London. But what is key in understanding currently around the citrus season is that we do note that current demand or growth in the volumes of citrus annually is soon going to exceed our current capacities. And what we have done within the region is that we've collaborated with depots and pack houses in syncing our processes and also gaining capacity to also facilitate ensuring that containers can be pre-staged prior to opening stacks and getting cargo in and pushing that performance and optimizing the throughput across the quay. We are also talking to top 5 CI initiatives. Continuous improvement is in the heart of our activities, noting that where we ended off last year, we have identified the top 5 initiatives that will also facilitate our growth points in terms of productivity as well. On weather mitigations, we've received additional sets of short tensioners. I think we've got 8, which will facilitate 2 berths for NCT. And we recently, in the last 2 weeks, the Moormaster was maintained as an operational standard and will facilitate mitigating any vessel movement or ranging across the quay as part of our plans to ensure that we are able to function under adverse weather conditions. From an engineering point of view, I will share a slide. I won't dive too much on that. But key to note that NCT this year will be going on to the 4th shift. So there is that transition. We are in the recruitment process for that, and we will be facilitating that towards the later part of the year. Rail connectivity, we have a rail connectivity that we are facilitating between TFR, TPT, and some of the exporters, noting that key growth in the last year and where we want to grow in this year. Last year, for the first time, we had a backup port that was railing from Deal Party to the terminal, rail containers, the rail just under 500 containers. And the target this year that they put on, and there's a challenge for us, is that they want to grow from 500 to 1,500. So we are also looking at how do we optimize mitigating the current challenges within the operational hours of certain industry stakeholders, and how do we facilitate continuous supply of equipment through the terminals to the depots, and ensuring that there's consistency in managing the capacity of the terminals as well, that it is optimized and you don't see spikes or peaks in demand for certain services and impacting the operational efficiencies. Then just on the overall digital initiatives. The major one for the terminal is that we will be going live with the truck booking system for NCT towards the end of September, beginning of October. That is a milestone that is yet to be achieved. We were intended to go live 2 years ago, but due to system integration challenges, we had to delay that. But we are well in a position to ensure that we deliver that commitment. And as the last terminal in South African ports that doesn't have the system, we will be delivering that towards the end of the year. Noting that within the IT framework as well, there's the app that they've been developing or are still developing to ensure that ease of access to information related to the system, where you can book, get cancellations, and live updates on how to utilize the terminal capacity will be provided through the app. So IT is working on that. In terms of end state for the year for the region, particularly on NCT, we are looking at growth in the performance. Overall, GCH, ship working hour, and truck turnaround time and rail, there's a shift that we need to do to show that we have matured in our position and not one-hit wonders, noting that we've done things within the system to facilitate growth. We would like to end the year at 18 moves with a shift working hour minimum at 36, noting that we are striving to get to the 45 as a consistent baseline. At truck turnaround time, noting that we ended at 33, we would like to achieve less than that, noting that as well going into the end of September when we introduce the truck booking system, a lot will be streamlined, ensuring that we manage demand and capacity, syncing those two to enable that we can utilize the entire day and ensure that there aren't peaks and that there's consistency in the service that we are delivering to the industry as well. For rail, we would like to achieve 4 hours, noting as well there that with the initiatives that we're doing within the citrus, its sensitive cargo and the tech time around that becomes critical. We cannot delay, otherwise that solution fails and it falls off. And noting that the rail initiative there that we're doing for the short leg between the depots is that there is the capacity, there is an appetite, and noting, I think Oscar also mentioned the weather delays or challenges during this peak period for us. We lose probably 20% of our operational time due to weather. And it being wind, we are looking at solutions of how do we mitigate and ensuring that cargo either gets into the terminal or empty reefers get out of the terminal for exporters to start packing and ensuring that that process continues to move and without delays. I'll move over to PEMPT and container. On the container sector, we exceeded our budgeted volumes, noting that we ended just below 140,000 TEUs. On the auto side as well, we ended at 175,000 FTUs. Bulk, we achieved 3.4 million tons. Break bulk, we achieved 7.3 million tons. Noting this, in terms of bulk and break bulk, we do have challenges within the bulk sector where we have done quite a bit of initiative to facilitate recovering and resuscitating that plant in terms of refurbishments that have been done that also required us then to facilitate movement of volumes from bulk to break bulk. But key to note on the performance indicators, where we ended off in the container sector for GCH, we achieved 18 moves per hour, noting that the last quarter of this year we achieved 22 with all the performance revamps that we've done and ensuring that we can achieve. Noting that the previous year we ended at 17.1, there's improvement in that as well. Ship working hour, we achieved 26, noting that on the previous year we had 23 ship working hour, but noting as well on the last quarter of the year, we also had a significant improvement there where we ended on 29 ship working hour. Truck turnaround time, colleagues, was 24 minutes. And I just want to emphasize something very significant here. Looking at the previous year, where we ended at 28 minutes, just over 28 minutes. It was our first season as the region and the terminal to go into citrus season with the truck booking system. Having held a workshop and facilitated that, the key response that was received was that it worked. It supported the movement of cargo, and in that we facilitated an improvement in efficiency in line with the capacity, the demand, and ensuring that we could grow volumes across the quay. So with that statement said, colleagues, I would also like to thank all the stakeholders within the room, online, and extended beyond the conversation for the support and contributions to ensuring that we made it a success for the year for PCT. Rail turnaround time, we achieved the target of 2.4 versus the previous year of 2 hours. There was a slight regression, but noting that with that, we had a challenge with straddles at some point in the year. But the PCT team, as resilient as they were, they also introduced a hybrid system where they introduced a whole operation into their environment to facilitate a response level to ensure that there was business continuity as well. On the UPH, we achieved 180 units per hour compared to the previous year of 181. Break bulk, TPH, we achieved 421 compared to the previous year of 401. There's improvement. Also noting that the break bulk volumes for this particular year, last financial year, was also increased, noting that the recovery of break bulk, of bulk, was facilitated through the break bulk terminals. On bulk, tons per hour that we achieved was 659 compared to the previous year of 763. And I think I've summed it up pretty well in terms of what is the issue there. We're dealing with an old plant that should have been decommissioned years ago, and we are maintaining it to continue to deliver the service that is required. But within that, we are finding innovative solutions to also make it more efficient in that. The rail turnaround time for that particular commodity, we achieved 12 hours compared to a previous year of 10.44. Key initiatives for this year, we are looking at how do we maximize our footprint on the C series, noting C101, and ensuring that we can increase the capacity that we're getting there and the volumes and the efficiency. And I won't talk too much on the citrus plants because we did it as a combined initiative between the terminals. That as well, the compliments from the industry related to the truck booking system and how they interfaced with the system during peak season, and the terminal staff also facilitated positive results in the truck turnaround time. And then you talk to the top 5 initiatives from a CI perspective. On one I want to really press on is the BOT bypass that the teams are working on. That has been awarded, and we are looking at a lead time for delivery of 7 months to ensure that that is in place to facilitate enabling BOT to deliver more volumes across the quay.
Zukile, you've got 5 minutes.
No problem, sir. I'm almost done. On fourth shift has been implemented in PCT, so everything is fine there. And then just talking to the desired end state, everything that we're talking to at the moment, we will increase on the performance KPIs by a minimum of 30%. That's the target, noting that the key focus right now is on BOT and ensuring that we can maintain or increase the TPH that is desired through ensuring that we can maximize the volumes through that terminal as well. And then on the last slide for the presentation, East London achieved just over 20,000 TEUs. Auto achieved just under 79,000 FBUs. Bulk, we achieved just under 6,000 tons. Break bulk, we achieved 280,000 tons. On the container side, in terms of productivity, we also managed to achieve 16 moves per hour, noting that we are coming from a point of position of 13.5. So there was a significant improvement there. On truck turnaround time, we averaged 11 minutes from a position of 12.8 in the previous year. Automotive, significant growth there in terms of performance, where we ended at 207 units per hour. Break bulk, we averaged 577 tons per hour, noting that in the bulk sector, where there's livestock as well, we were achieving 160 tons per hour. Key initiatives now for East London. I mentioned the constraint within the growth of the industry in line with our stagnant capacity internally. We are also looking at initiatives of how we can unlock East London to also facilitate reefer exports out of East London, noting that we do note that there's berth capacity, and then we do note that there is things that we can facilitate to also be able to capacitate transporting reefers out of East London through to the market. So there's the real connectivity for the grain and the grain elevator that we are also looking at, and then the digital initiatives also that we are looking at in terms of going paperless and also looking at smart solutions on managing the operational activities to improve efficiencies. So desired end state for East London right now is that we need to be in a position where we have trialed the reefer exports out of East London to ensure that the concept is documented and it's a sustainable concept, and we can move forward with that as a solution in line with the growth in demand. And then we're looking at, from a KPI perspective, we're also looking at a 10 to 30% growth in those KPIs. The initiatives are there that talk to that. And then we are also looking at ensuring that we can also maintain our internet connectivity to ensure that volumes flow through to the East London port. Colleagues, that is the end of my slide. I hope articulated everything well. If there's any questions or comments, I will take those now.
Zukile, thank you so much for the presentation. We're planning a panel discussion at the end of the event at about 12:30. Will you be available then?
Yes, I will be.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gents, let's give Zukile a nice hand. Great presentation. Zukile, thank you so much. So clearly they're looking forward to engaging with you in the panel discussion just now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me just...
ladies and gents, it's now time for a 15 minutes comfort break. And after the comfort break, we will continue then with the Richards Bay terminals. Ifu Nchangaze is going to present on behalf of Tula Swiss Bay. So thank you very much. I see you in 15 minutes time. So it's 20, let's make it 20 past 11. I see you back here again. Thank you. So our next presenter today will be Mr. Ifu Nchangaze, and he will do a presentation related to the Richards Bay terminals. So thank you very much, Sipho. We're thankful for you, and I think it's on short notice you had to present. So we appreciate you. Thank you very much for presenting this day.
Good morning. And a special morning to my friend Danny. Good morning, Danny. Where is he? Good. So as been introduced, the name is Sipho Ntshangase, and I will be presenting on the Richards Bay Terminals on behalf of Uthula Sizwe, the Managing Executive. So I've been cautioned to manage time. So with that, I will be approaching it in the miniskirt approach, which basically talks about long enough to cover the vitals, but short enough to attract attention. So I will, as an overview, this is the Richards Bay Terminals. Richards Bay Terminals comprises of two terminals, the MPT terminal, which is the multi-purpose, as well as the DBT, which is the dry bulk terminal. It comprises of total of 13 berths, segregated with 6 on the MPT side and 7 on the DBT side. And moving over again, just to highlight the performance on the MPT for the year that was, which was 24-25 financial year. It has been what's the right word? A hectic year in terms of challenges, but the team collaboratively, we have risen amongst the challenges that we were faced. Touching on the performance itself, on the volume performance, on the MPT side, we have surpassed the coal volumes, equating to a total of 7 million tons for the financial year. However, we did not perform as much as we wanted to on the chrome and the chrome and ferrochrome end, and the total MPT performance equated to 12.3 million tons for the financial year. And maybe just to highlight on the chrome and the coal performance in particular, as much as we had performed exceptionally from a volumes perspective, we did experience secondary challenges in terms of influx of trucks. I think we've all seen the interest on the news and media. So, but there were initiatives that we had implemented to try and alleviate the pressure, as well as the concerns from the community, as well as the public at large. I will just touch on that as the presentation proceeds. In terms of the key actions for the year, we are looking at reconfiguring the coal terminal on the MPT site. And the train of thought is that we need to reimagine MPT in its current state. So in the main, the approach is for us to activate a back-of-port solution, something similar to what we have on the Green Road end, whereby we will be migrating coal volume specifically to a back-of-port facility, which would then connect to the conveyor belt systems. We have issued an RFI, which is currently out in the market, closing end of this month. We were quite nice and friendly. There was a request to extend it, so we have granted the extension to allow enough time for those participants to apply their minds accordingly. So we're looking forward to that, that RFI that is. And then I touched on the road infrastructure decay, which had caused by the influx of trucks. So we have collaboratively, that is with the authority, started a program to rehabilitate the road infrastructure and network within the port as well as the terminals. On the TPT side, we have appointed RNC, which is the rail construction leg of now the newly formed TRIM. And the nice part of it is we have appointed them with a 7-year guarantee of them ensuring that the quality of the road does last for 7 years. So meaning, should there be a pothole at year 2, then RNC would come at their cost and rehabilitate that particular pothole. So those are the type of guarantees that we're wanting to implement. As well as improving the productivity on the inland terminals. I've noted the initial presentation by the GCOO did indicate the 2 inland terminals that we have as TPT. So we're wanting to improve those efficiencies on those terminals so that the entire ecosystem becomes fluid in terms of having cargo filtering through to the port. And then the desired end state that we see as the terminals is that we want to enhance our collaborative efforts. And we've realized that in the recent past, we have been somewhat lacking in terms of involving industry to improve operational efficiencies and solicit ideas and suggestions for them. Because at the end of the day, we all have a single interest at heart, which is South Africa Inc. So it then talks to us being a conduit and an enabler for them to be able to transport as well as transfer the cargo over the quay. So those are the key factors that we're wanting to focus on in this particular financial year. As well as I think I've covered the two on the MPT side. I will then proceed to the DBT. On the DBT end, we have performed quite well on coal, slightly behind on chrome. However, on the magnetite as well, we've surpassed the targets. And what is encouraging in terms of the performance, we have noted that there is a high interest from industry to export more cargo on the magnetite. So on our end, we are now seeing those commodities being chrome and magnetite as a much more sustainable and futuristic commodities. You would note the price on coal is quite erratic. So during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, there was a surge in the trade price. And at this point in time, it has dwindled down. So what we've also done as a terminal to sort of incentivize and encourage exporters, we've played around with the tariff on the coal side, and it's currently applicable at this point in time, but that's only on the MPT side, to encourage exporters to export more coal during these trying times. So those are the type of collaborative initiatives that we are wanting to participate with industry. On the productivity side, again, I've touched on the coal as well as on the chrome. We were slightly behind on chrome. However, we have scheduled a session this coming Friday with the chrome industry to try again and see how do we then best collaboratively improve on the loading cycles for chrome. There has been suggestions to use alternative loading mechanisms. So we're saying, look, our door is open, let us engage and let us see how best can we then come up with a much more sustainable and productive level of operating. And then the key actions on the conveyors with the dry bulk terminal. Post the 2021 belt fires, which saw 3 critical belts going out, i.e. the Fosco conveyor belt, the AMSA, as well as the Grindrod. I stand here, I'm not sure whether proud is the right word to use, but we have completed the rehabilitation and commissioning of 2 conveyor belts, which is the Grindrod belt as well as the Fosco belt. The AMSA belts ETR is the 30th of June 2025. So by next month, we would be then again communicating to industry that we have successfully completed those belt rebuilds. So, but we've also put in mechanisms to ensure that we try and minimize the impact should there be a fire. Ideally, we do not want any fires. However, from an engineering perspective, we try to engineer the impact therefore. And then whilst we're still on the DBT side, I think the GCO again has touched on the DBT PSP that is currently underway. So I'm just going to skip on that one. As well as the other matter that we had picked up in terms of the OEMs, you would note that before the amendment of the procurement bill, we used to go to open market and then get service providers providing us with parts that are not necessarily suitable for the equipment that we have. So the amendment of that does assist us a lot in terms of ensuring that each and every equipment, the correct and necessary OEM then gets appointed for that. So we are focusing on the tippler rehabilitation and ensuring that the tipplers are not only available, but they're reliable and predictable. We've seen at times where the tipplers do not perform to the standard we would like it to be. And again, part of the challenges that we're experiencing with the tippler performance, it's got to do with the type of cargo we are handling. Wet cargo being one, and I think that's primarily one of the reasons why Twitter was not unable to attend the session. We are experiencing challenges with cargo. However, we are engaging again with the relevant customers to ensure that the impact is minimized. And then on the DBT side, our desired end state, again, is to look at the entire value chain. So what we've done as the Richards Bay precinct, we've partnered with the authority. So if you were to go to the port of Richards Bay, there is now what we term a value management hub. So what is the value management hub? It is a central point where all stakeholders, including us as TPT, we get a view of the holistic value chain. So we are able to have a look at a train or cargo from mine, from pit to port, looking at the entire thing and checking it on a live basis. So that's quite exciting. We're heading for exciting times on the Richards Bay precinct. And again, we are wanting to implement, we are on the 4IR stage now. So, and I believe that with customers, we would want to understand on real-time basis, what is the stockpile levels of your cargo? So that is what we are investigating at this point in time, which is led by the CI department, so that there's transparency when it comes to the movement of cargo. And there's no them and us. We are all as interested parties in this particular matter. And then my last slide, and I think this talks to the previous presentation that was done within this platform. So I felt it's proper just to give an update. You know, at times we come, we present, but we really don't give an update as to where we are in terms of the progress. I've touched on the conveyor belts, the rebuild system that is, as well as what we're wanting to do is to obviously migrate coal from the MPT side to a back of port facility. As well as manpower. I know there's always issues, especially on the MPT side, in terms of manpower as well as equipment deployment. It's actually quite encouraging again. We have received a total of 15 haulers. They are in the terminal as we speak. They are being modified so that it becomes fit for purpose. The total fleet that we're going to be receiving is a total of 67. So once we then receive those will then be deployed accordingly within the system. And the aim is to ensure or ensure that we do realize operational benefits in terms of efficiencies. So we are working closely with industry. And I think what is also encouraging is the fact that during the terminals or the port consultative committees, we have established what is called a technical subcommittee, where we would then physically go and have a look at particular issues and see how then can we collaboratively with various stakeholders try and improve the productivity of the terminals with having SA Inc. in mind. With that, I think I have covered most of my items using the miniskirt approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sifu, for that presentation. I really enjoyed it, and clearly a lot of challenges in Richards Bay. Always popular in the media as well, Richards Bay and everything that's happening there. So we really appreciate what you guys are doing there. Thank you for the presentation. And we're looking forward to the panel discussion with you. Ladies and gents, our next presenter then is Mr. Earl Peters. Before I forget, Transnet Corporate, they just said to me that the Transnet little exhibition outside, there's a barcode scan thing, what they call it, some scan. QR code, that's it. Thank you. So you need to scan that and then you get access to the Transnet corporate video and a lot of information. So please remember to go and scan that QR code. Thank you so much. All right. So now it's Durban Terminals, and we've got Mr. Earl Peters, who's the Managing Executive for Durban Terminals, and he's going to do a presentation to us. Thank you very much, Earl.
Good morning, everyone. You know, the way I'm feeling now, Harry, is it's the main event has come up. So So you had all of this leading up to the main event. What I would just like to open with is, it's a renowned author, Indian American author, Deepak Chopra, and he says that before great change, it's always preceded by chaos. So, Durban has faced significant challenges, and the GCO has referenced it the same as the CE as well, in terms of what it is that we had to navigate through during the last few months, particular as Transnet. He's also made further reference to, when the trucking community doesn't work or the port system doesn't work, that the economy feels it. When Durban does not work, the economy also feels it. Because it converges there, many of the economic hubs, in particular from the reef, manufacturing, mining, pharmaceuticals, point of entry, even for the agricultural. It centers in Durban, it converges here. So when it doesn't work, we all feel it. We felt it during COVID. We felt it during 2023 as well. So I would also like to just saying is that, with this today, where we are today, it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the support that we received, one from the stakeholders, industry leaders, industry bodies, for those that also come to aid, that offered this, put up their hand. For once, it wasn't as that you needed to find a solution. It was all about us, that we needed to find a solution. It wasn't just left to Transnet. So it's something that, and that particular cooperation, collaboration that was put forward, and it was actively done so, that has really given rise to the improvements that we're currently seeing. From a Durban terminals perspective, there's 6 terminals. Let me just move on to the next one. The 6 terminals, I know this is fairly small. I'm just looking to see where's the slide. Oh, this one is a better one. It's a bit small. But the 6 terminals, let me just start with the 2 main container terminals. There's a Durban Container Terminal Pier 2. This is the main container terminal in the Port of Durban. It has a throughput capacity of 2.4 million TEUs. Last year, we handled and materialized 1.6 million TEUs through the facility. A Pier 1 container terminal is adjacent to this facility that has a capacity of 720,000 throughput capacity. And what we can indicate is that last year, even given all of the challenges that we have faced, and with the support from everyone else and the joint collaboration between the various parties and stakeholders, we were able to handle 728,000 TEUs. So we've actually exceeded what we said, what the design capacity, operating design capacity of the terminal was. And that was with the challenged equipment and so forth. Then there's the multipurpose terminal. That's the largest one in our suite, which is the Durban multipurpose terminal. It handles 230,000 TEUs. That is the throughput operational capacity. And this year we've ended on 220,000. We were just shy of the 10,000 mark. I do believe had we started the business cycle off in 2024, a bit earlier in terms of volumes moving through that facility, I do believe strongly that we actually would have exceeded that 230,000. We are aiming for this year, even though that we see that there's some contraction and some depression in the markets, is that the terminal is certainly geared to handle in approximate between 250 to 300,000 TEUs through that facility. Because what we've identified is that as what Oscar shared in Cape Town, in TPT, we've also looked at facilities that can complement the container terminals, that it doesn't become the primary conduit where we handle containers. They've really come into their own there as well. And as part of our expansion plans, this is a facility, in the near future that will move from 230,000 TEUs to 1.8 million TEUs. And obviously, we're working very closely with the city, also around the expansion and also the National Port Authority. Then the largest automotive terminal, which is the Durban Ro-Ro terminal, capacity of 520,000 units. That's a fully built units that goes through that facility. We've ended just shy of just close to that number. We ended up about 490,000 for the year. And that was really to some of the market dynamics that has unfolded around emissions, compliance commissions in Europe in terms of exports out of South Africa. But with the support of the OEMs, we managed actually to claw back some ground. We anticipated that we would handle about 55,000 units less. We closed that gap to about 17,000 units by the end of our financial year. The plans for this facility as well is to ramp up then from 520,000 fully built units closer towards the 2030 mark, 2029. This facility should then be able to handle 1 million FBUs. And obviously, connectivity is going to be absolutely critical. We're certainly not looking at increasing road traffic, but we will then support the ingress in terms of the flow of inbound and outbound cargo through rail hubs, where these units will be pre-assembled, brought in, and also obviously delivered to the reef. The Maiden Wharf area, there's two terminals there. There's the bulk terminal. This is obviously in the Port of Durban, is the second largest agricultural facility where we handle agricultural products. And this is in the main wood chips and maize exports and also wheat imports to some smaller degree. And there's a multi-purpose terminal which handle project cargo. And then obviously we've also now just resuscitated the container capability as to what we've identified similar to the main MPT, that there's also opportunity that we can actually use that facility as a container hub as well. This is really, it's actually a prime facility for coastal hubs, so for coastal traffic, particularly between the other container terminals or within the network of TPT. And we've seen it came in quite handy during the previous year. Just from a Pier 1 container terminal, the volumes handled for this year, as I've indicated, 728,000 TEUs. What I do want to highlight is that this was one of the facilities that was built, it was constructed, and it was commissioned in 2007. The equipment that is there is the original equipment that's still there. Exactly to Solly's point, he was the creator of Pier 1 terminal in 2007. And we are now replacing that equipment. And they should have been replaced significantly early in terms of the replacement plans, investment plans for the facility as well, to keep up with the service targets and efficient targets that we should have been able to achieve. Barring all of that, the team on the ground has still managed to achieve, with the capability that is there, with the current equipment, to achieve the 728,000 mark, compared to the operational design of 720. And we couldn't have done that, obviously, in terms of the teams. It was a good technical team, but also the collaboration and partnership with the OEMs. That we also fostered really intimate relations in terms of the long-term OEM partnership. So there's vested interest for all of us in terms of making sure that these equipment, in terms of that they're available and that they remain reliable. So the current fleet, we are currently defleeting. We've now injected 9 new RTGs. They will complete, actually, the first 5 will now complete the endurance testing during this week. And we've already seen some marked improvements, particularly on the land side and particularly on some of on the water side, from a productivity point of view. The balance of it will be by the end of this month. We'll see the injection of also commencing with endurance testing for the remaining 4. That's the 9. And then obviously by March 2026, we're injecting a further 7 of them, taking us up to 16. And then the balance towards the end of the year will be another 4. So that then completes the full RTG fleet. We then also injected about 23 haulers, new haulers. So what we do have is we've got a brand new fleet of haulers that essentially is the prime mover in the terminal, and that will support the new fleet of RTGs by next year. And then 2 years later than that, we'll then replace all 6 cranes at Pier 1 container terminal as well. So you'll have a brand new fleet. And we're certainly looking forward to, in terms of the expected ship working hour and efficiencies that we are capable and should be capable of as a world-class facility. But the focus for us is really in terms of how it is that we ensure that also the point I would also like to make is that during this period as well as that, and we've co-created this with the transporter community, is that we've also identified hubs in and around the port as well, So instead of placing sole reliance in terms of receiving containers, export containers into the terminal or dispatching them from the terminal, we've placed significant reliance also on rail to evacuate particular imports out of the terminal to these hubs. Transporters then will then go to these hubs and collect from these facilities instead of coming into the port. And it's really worked well. We've seen it certainly, it improved truck turnaround time, and it has given them the flexibility as and when hard is that it actually serves their customers and the industries they serve. On the Pier 2 container terminal, that's being the largest facility, 1.6 million TEUs we've handled last year. And this is the parts where we're working on improvements, because this is also a facility that investment should have made significantly earlier, which has not been done. Also, as Solly's indicated, during his tenure, a lot of the investments happened during that time. And since then, we've actually not injected significant amount of equipment into that terminal. We have now injected 20 brand new straddle carriers. In March, all of them were operational, and it's immediately made that marked improvement. Particular, I think, if there was no one that actually knows or knew Transnet, they read it, they seen it in the media in terms of congestion on Bayard or truck congestion, not getting bookings and so forth, and as the like. With injection of these machines that we've now deployed, we on average used to serve trucks in the region of about 128 minutes, and it could increase to the region of about 300 minutes in terms of a visit to the terminal and leaving the terminal. Since the injection of that equipment, we've seen the lowest of 58 minutes in terms of truck turnaround time. And we've seen now on average, it's actually just stabilized around the 70-minute mark now. And these are for dual transactions. So our expectation was that we would see the number of about 90 minutes. And the 70 is certainly, it's a much better number. Because remember, for the value change to work as well, and as Solly's indicated as well as that, we've also got to work with those that we serve. And some pack at certain times, some receive cargo and it feeds into various processes. And we also want to be able to support particular just in time. When we did not work very well, what it did mean is that it meant that many of the industries we serve had to suddenly, and they found themselves that they needed to ramp up inventory. Working capital requirements significantly ramped up. So there was certainly a cost that we've created in terms of certain aspects of our business that was not in place. And that now has stabilized. That actually what we are finding is that to some degree now is that it's allowed industry to start moving those numbers back to where they were prior to 2023. So at least now this cost implication has been removed. So at least that's a feedback that we've received from industry players. We've also changed the narrative that while shipping lines are our customers, we definitely became closer partners with industry institutions, companies, in terms of what impacts them, how it is that we need to service certain trades that comes to the Port of Durban, understanding how their business work, whether it's textile. We know they order 6 months in advance. We had no sight of that. So when they order and this does not work, we understand what the implications is, even for power supply, refineries, manufacturing for OEMs for vehicles. And it's a sector that cannot afford to have significant inventory. They need to produce vehicles, leave it and convert it to cash, because they're competing with other hubs in terms of manufacturing hubs elsewhere in the globe as a source of supply for these units. We've now injected the 20 machines. We will be injecting a further 16 also by March of next year. And then there should be another balance of another 35 that we should be also increasing, and that is by the end of 2026. By that stage, we are exploring and we are working on solutions of converting this particular facility from a straddle carrier operation to an RTG operation, which means all our container facilities will then be operating on an RTG operating model. Oh, except for PE, yes, which is still this straddle carrier operation. And we're certainly looking forward to that. So we are also, we onboarded various stakeholders in terms of, so everyone is going and joined us on this journey in terms of how it is that we move and migrate from one to the other. So it's not something that we're doing on our own. so that we also understand in terms of how we design the terminal, how it is that we intend to service it, and to make sure that the service delivery targets meet the expectation for the demand for the facility. Cranes coming in as well. We've purchased 4 new brands ship-to-shore cranes for the South Quay. The cranes that we're replacing is 21 years old. They've served us well. They were brought in 2009 through a customer support. These 4 new cranes is twin lift cranes, and we're certainly looking forward to these cranes giving us the benefit. This was a high performance quay. It's a quay that used to give us in the region of 30 to 31 gross moves per crane hour. Currently, we're operating in the realm, unfortunately, between 9 to 10 moves an hour. We've seen some instances now that we've done some retrofits or upgrades on some of the systems on the cranes until the new ones are in. We've seen it in the region in terms of doing 24 moves. That's the best that we've actually been able to do with these cranes. So the technical capability is present in the facility, and it's really the team that has kept this terminal going. We've also injected another 23 new haulers because we're running an indirect operation on the South Quay. And we had to do that to expedite it to ensure we keep up with the efficiencies in the terminal. Straddle carriers goes into production, they go into orders and all of that, and we needed to we had to inject equipment and resources to make sure that we have it now before we have a need for the straddle carriers. The reason also why that operating model works really well on the indirect operation on the South Quay, it's a berth that actually sits in the, it doesn't show in terms of, it's a South Quay. If you can see, I know it's quite small. It's berth 202. It's actually in the middle. It's just on the right hand side, looking at the picture of the red cranes. These equipment, based on the stack layout, they actually run quite long distance. Straddle carriers are not meant to run 1.6 kilometers. 250 to 400 meters, that's about the distance for them, optimal distance for them to run. So the 1.6 kilometer turnaround time is where we've injected the haulers. They're much more efficient, they're much more durable, and we get the efficiencies that we look for. Just in terms of stack utilization, we've also created an empty stack where we've done the consolidation of empties. So we have a yard for empties, and obviously this allowed for the turning of empties into the terminal much easier because we understand the need. When vessels need to sail full out of a terminal, we can extract that directly from the top-up stacks, and we can ensure that the vessel sails out full. And that was 10,000 TUs that we've created in the terminal. It's something that was not there before, and it's subsequently been created. We're also busy with the berth deepening. So by early next year, berth deepening will also commence. And this essentially will extend the North Quay from current 900 meters to 1,200 meters. So we'll be able to also then berth vessels with a draft of 14.5 meters. Currently, it's 12.2 meters. So the new generation vessels will be able to come into the facility. Just some of the improvements in the terminal since it is that we've gone through this downward trajectory in terms of the regression of our performance, and it has picked up quite nicely now from 2023. Just one example is that the largest vessel that calls the terminal brings on average about 8,500 containers. We've seen now during this last quarter, they're doing about 7,000 containers, but we used to take anything between 7 to 10 days to turn that vessel around. We're now doing it on average between 4 to 4.5 days that we're turning that vessel around. So this is a Far East trade. And obviously we are repeating that also on the other quays as well. So once the new cranes is commissioned, endurance testing will commence in October 2025 for the first 2. The second 2 will then be in November 2025. One would expect exactly, and we know that will be similar performance, and overall ship working hours should be between 55 to 60 ship working hour once it's implemented. The Durban Auto Terminal, this remains a very key hub, particularly for OEMs, for imports and exports. What we have seen is there's certainly been a significant shift from imports coming into the country compared to the exports leaving. So we also deem it very critical that we support, particularly those that are producing in the country units for the OEMs that is producing here. Because the dwell time is actually a bit longer in terms of when we have to pre-assemble them compared to when we receive imports into the country. But we've prepared for both, and what we have actively worked on with TFR is actually to fully utilize the rail capability for units having to go to the reef, and also units coming directly from the plants into the terminal. Because what we have found is that unfortunately the new builds of truck carriers or road carrier haulers is not keeping up with the demand for imports and exports having to come to the terminal. So we had to find another mode with the OEMs in terms of the utilization, in terms of moving units in out. That is really what actually made a significant difference in terms of also ramping up to the 620,000 units. That was about 100,000 above the operating design capacity of that terminal. Which means that on average, what we have found is imports stayed in the terminal for approximately about a day, and then they moved out of the terminal. Whilst we actually allow them 3 days in order to move an import out. So we jointly saw the need, and we also saw the benefit with the importers that they made use of in order to ramp those numbers up. We're obviously working on the plans now to ramp up the expansion portion to move up to 125. What we have done is we've implemented also during last year, we've implemented what we call seamless driving service. We've implemented at the Durban auto terminal. Our average units per hour is about 150 units per hour. With the introduction of the seamless driving service, we are now seeing anything between 180 to 300 fully built units that we are now able to move in terms of that we're loading onto the vessel or coming off the vessel. So from the time that we move it from the stacking to the vessel or that we receive it, and we created a buffer actually very close to the vessel, and this has really allowed us to achieve this type of efficiency improvement at the auto terminal. The multi-purpose terminal came into their own really, during the time of need when the two main container terminals were struggling. And this is really what set them apart from the multi-purpose terminal. We've converted one of the break bulk berths to a container berth. So we now operate 2 container berths and one break bulk berth for general cargo. And the terminals then obviously moved from about 130,000 TEUs to 225,000 TEUs that we've handled last year. So that's the highest this terminal has handled, and it's obviously, let's set a record during the 2024-25 year. We're looking to repeat that. This is a facility that operates and handles containers with mobile cranes, mobile harbor cranes. Just from an efficiency point of view, highest that we've seen that these cranes are doing, they're doing between 20 to 36 moves an hour on a crane. So on the average is panning out in the region about 17, but on a good day, landside is working, in particular on an import vessel. We've seen the 36 numbers. We actually improved from 32 to 36 gross crane moves hours. And these are with the 4 cranes that we have there. What's currently underway within the next 2 years, we'll also be replacing all 4 of these cranes. They were initially purchased in 2012, and they'll now be replaced 2 years from now. And this will be a facility that remains in terms of supporting the main terminal, whilst it is that we are completing the plans for the expansion to 1.8 million TEUs. The Durban Maidenhof terminal plans are also underway. What we had to accept that operating conditions has changed. Maidenhof is an extremely competitive environment, and in some areas under joint investment partner selection process, that we're also seeing there's an opportunity for us to partner with this particular facility in Maidenhof. There's certainly opportunities, and as Solly's indicated, many has also presented unsolicited bids. Opportunity is now to follow the process that is available to those that are interested parties to actually present their case to us. And obviously we're looking at a joint business solution that renders this facility financially viable and financially sustainable into the future as well. Currently it's handling export chrome and containers. We're looking at handling about 42,000 TEUs in this facility by the end of this financial year. This is really the primary commodities that we are looking at. And obviously we'll continue with the agricultural side, which is the agri terminal, which is the wood chips will remain. We'll continue with the wood chip exports. What is also quite came back quite nicely is the agricultural part of it, which is wheat imports and maize exports. And we actually work very closely with NCT Wood Chips on this as we share the facilities that links the galleries that we load vessels with. And it's actually proved very, very beneficial to both of us. In this space also, on the agricultural side, we also do see this opportunity to partner with a partner for agricultural facilities. So we currently also initiated a process to start a partner selection process for the agricultural terminal. I'm not going to dwell on this slide, but essentially this is just indicating all of the investment that has been made thus far into the container terminals, also into the multipurpose terminal, and also this commitment from Transnet in order to rebuild particularly these facilities, but to ensure that we meet the service delivery expectations for the demand for the port and for the terminals. We certainly want to ensure that Durban Port and the terminals become synonymous, that we are a terminal operator of choice. With this, I would like to close then just in terms of, it's a Chinese proverb that says that with winds of change, that some build halls and others, they build windmills. I think the picture that we've shared to this morning with everyone is that we've opted for the latter. We're building windmills. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Colleagues and customers, there's one thing I forgot to mention in my presentation, and it didn't come through in Jabu's presentation, neither did it in El's presentation, is that the PA2 PSP, I know that some of you may still have questions. I mean, there was a court case at the end of March where, judgment was reserved. And so we wait for the judge to then rule whether the process that was followed by Transnet in awarding this bid to the preferred bidder was done correctly or not. And the judge may rule either way, may rule that, yes, you follow the right process, go ahead. And if that happens, there could also be an appeal by the same person appealing that judgment. So the process still carries on. And from if it goes the other way and they say, look, you need to restart, there can also be an appeal from the other party that had been awarded. So the legal process is something I can't stand here and tell you where it's going to end, but it carries on. But from a Transnet point of view, we have an obligation to continue operating Pier 2, regardless of what's happening. So we'll continue investing in the terminal. We'll continue to make it as efficient as possible. And whichever way the legal process goes, we will follow. I mean, if it's following the PSP needs to go to be put in place, we will put it in place and run. If we have to restart the process, we'll also restart the process. But what we've committed, and we're committing to you and the rest of the users of Pier 2, is that we will not allow the terminal to fall over. I think the strategy that happened before the PSP, all my colleagues were instructed to stop investing in that terminal. I mean, just to explain why we are where we are. It was an instruction, you will not invest in that terminal. And unfortunately, that has come to bite us now. If the investment had been done, even though there was going to be a PSP, we would not be in this situation. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you so much, Solly, for clarifying that. And for a great presentation. You can think any corridor, NATCO, North-South corridor, Durban somewhere is in there. And I know the Road Freight Association, they say that without trucks, South Africa stops. I think without terminals, South Africa is dead. And so thank you very much for that. Ladies and gents, our next presenter then is the digital transformation in Transnet. And we're going to have Alvin Gulzar who's going to do a presentation for us. Thank you very much, Alvin. Let's give him a hand.
Hey, good afternoon, colleagues. I think the intention was strategic to place me at the end as the last presenter for the day, because it gives me the opportunity to listen to my business partners provide the pain points as well as their visions and goals for excellence. And it's now my duty to provide those digital solutions and technology platforms for them to achieve their goals. Thanks. So I think in the interest of time, from our perspective, the ICT transformation strategy is to look at how, what do we put in place to enable them from the ground up. So if I were to look at the service areas that we looked at, there were 7 potential areas that we were looking at from the ground up. And if I start from the bottom up, which is your foundational layer, which is the network modernization strategy. Transnet has 12,000 kilometers of fiber footprint in South Africa. Of that is 2,500 interlinks that we have. So that's how complex the environment is. And we've been running an arcade environment for quite a long time. And a lot of you must probably see a system availability sometimes becoming a challenge is because of the environment that we are currently busy modernizing. So there was also initiatives last year in communications where you've seen we've been asking for downtimes for this modernization. So the journey has begun already, and we're going down that route. The next layer on this is going to be the data center modernization. The data centers being our vaults for our digital assets. So we have digital data centers across the country as Transnet, but even as TPT, our master data centers in Durban, as well as the subsidiary ones within the ports. Within those data centers, we have our hosting infrastructure, which is our server infrastructure that hosts our applications, but we also utilizing the hybrid of our cloud technologies as well. The application modernization, some of you will be familiar with the Nava solutions, the GCOS applications, your SAP ERPs and so forth. And those are the applications that we're looking at modernization as TPT. As Transnet, however, there is an abundance of applications across all the divisions. And what we are looking at as the overall strategy is to try to reduce the duplication within that and limit that to become more effective for us to be able to deploy our digital solutions as one ICT within Transnet. And then the last aspect is mainly around the process automation strategy, where we're looking at the business pain points, the challenges that I experience, and providing those digital solutions for the business. But also is to take away, and some of my colleagues have all spoken a lot about it, around the paperless environment that we want to go through. So that's what our intention is. If you're looking at the bottom layer again, that's kind of the pillars in terms of our corporate plan, where we're looking at the operational execution. We want to achieve operational efficiencies within the environment. We're talking about maintenance from our equipment to our operational areas. Transformation, again, moving away from the current mindsets into a digital mindset. The human capital, an asset that is very valuable within Transnet, and how do we then treat and communicate with the people, and how do we leverage off those that are leaving, those that are coming into the organization with their skills. And the last one is around securing Transnet assets. And we look at it from an ICT point of view of IT, cyber and information security. The row on the top is the different areas of the streams that we put together as TPT ICT in order to be able to address some of the points. So the first stream you're looking at is the BApps innovation. When you follow a full project management framework, it takes you months and years to deliver projects. We've come up with the business enablement application system, which shortens that time frame, so we are quicker to go to market in terms of any of the solutions. So we're using a lot of Power Apps, which is the Microsoft platform suite, but we're also using a lot of low-code, no-code development platforms to be able to deliver quick solutions. The second bucket is the paperless drive. Again, I think we've covered that in some saying there's a lot of paper-driven processes in the organization, and we are trying to now make sure that we digitize that so that there's no longer papers that's running around. The DNA Advantage platform is a Gartner derived terminology, And this seeks for us to be able to create a warehousing platform that has data and analytics capabilities. So there's this theme where you'll see later on where we have multiple application systems that are disparate, and it's now to take that into a central repository that we can now have insights as well as be able to distribute data from there. The automation repetition is, automating of repetition is that there's a lot of processes that we do on a day-to-day basis that can be automated to bring efficiencies within the environment. And the last one is the systems of record, which you all are familiar with, is what are we doing with the systems like GCOS, Navis, SAP, Comtrack, and so forth as our main application systems within TPT. On this, I'm not going to cover too much, but it's more just to illustrate that some of the activities that we will be working with in terms of the corporate plan, from the equipment monitoring and performance monitoring within the operational area, the conditional monitoring, predictive maintenance, planning and scheduling for the maintenance area. The last one is on the digitalization and the business process improvements, automation, as well as artificial intelligence within the transformation layer. So to talk about the modernization of the network, because this is currently a big pain point for a lot of our customers for the access and the availability of our systems. We have the corporate network, which is currently having outdated infrastructure and architectures. We're now busy with a couple of projects to move to a land transformation, a local area network transformation, as well as we are looking at the campus fiber replacement. So we're doing a lot of the fiber replacement work now. And the last one is the software-defined networks, where we can move more into the software world rather than physically going out in the environment to go and fix fiber. So that at the end of the day, that's going to basically translate into a reliable network for all our applications and communications. Data center maintenance, as well as mentioned that because we have such a large footprint of data centers, we're also putting the maintenance contracts so that we have extreme uptime. We have, from a compliance perspective, that we reach that. It's a modernization and also the infrastructure within that environment. We're making sure that the current infrastructure we have that are on maintenance while we go through a refresh. The other one is around the cloud migration. So whilst cloud is here within Transnet, we are utilizing it in different buckets of the organization. The intention is to get our applications to be cloud ready, to make sure that the infrastructure is in place so that we can now start to leverage and move things up. Later on, we will talk about the roadmaps for the application spaces and how we bring that to readiness for cloud consumption. And the last one is around the wireless networking connectivity in our operational areas, which is lacking at the moment. The most that we have in that space is our narrowband technology, which is run for our terminal operating systems, but it's now enabled the other capabilities and features. I mean, one of them you'll see later on, it will be an operational Wi-Fi for the remote operations project. It will be for the connectivity within the port precincts. And so that will now become more stable. We're putting in maintenance agreements for that, but we're also going on to new. So that's a lot of work being done to stabilize the network and the environment. Therefore, I brought this slide in specifically. In terms of the modernization, in terms of hosting, this is the platform I'm talking about, the data analytics platform. So on the left-hand side, you'll see all our systems of record that are the primary systems that we utilize that enables the business. Navis for the container sector business, GCOS for the bulk, break bulk, and automotive. SAP as our ERP solution. Comtrack also plays in our IoT terminals, and our DBT terminals in Richards Bay and Saldanha. And then we also have ancillary systems for your reporting. All that information is sitting on its own standard, localized solutions in terms of GCOS as GCOS visibility only. The intention is to move all of this information into what we call a data lake, or the platform that we're utilizing currently is the cloud platform, which is Azure Fabrics. And now we have the data that can be transformed into different layers, which is the medallion architecture, from a bronze layer of loading the data to a silver layer where we start to transform, and then into a gold layer, which we now make analytics available from. This gives us some of the potential use cases whereby we can now start to do some predictive analytics. We can start to do some prescriptive analytics, as well as we can now apply artificial intelligence and machine learning onto it. But also from a lot of the customers that want to engage and want to get insights in, or want to get access to data, we basically sometimes shy away from it, in the sense that we do not want you to have access to the actual production systems, because then it compromises the stability of the environment when heavy queries are being run on the database that's meant to be running on a live transaction system. So now that we move stuff into this data lake, the cases at the bottom, like with Spotlight as an application that we'll talk about as well, the collaboration with the other divisions as well as customers to be able to share data. There's third-party data that we can now start sharing from this platform because it's outside the actual running of the operations. So if you go on to the next one, these slides are quite busy in terms of the initiatives that we are busy with, right? So there's over 120 initiatives that we have in the pipeline after engaging with the business. So the team has gone around the entire country and engaged with the entire business to find out what are the pain points and what are the visions in terms of what they want to see from their solutions. And we've come up with approximately 120. So then we basically took that and then bucketed them into the different platforms or the different streams that I showed to you earlier on. If you're looking at the first one under the BF innovation, there's approximately 18 initiatives that we're dealing with that cuts across risk, operations, customers, employee enrichment, as well as procurement. One of the ones that will stand out that I presented at the last Transport Forum was Spotlight on the top. So we moved where we modernized the Spotlight app. The next phase was to make sure that we brought in the container sector business as well as notification that you can get on your phone whenever something happens in the port. The third one was where we brought in this truck appointment slot visibility. We could see the slot visibility in the next one, which we failed on at the moment, but we are now engaging with the Navis as the OEM to provide the integration, is for you to be able to book slots using the app. So we went down a use development, and there was a snag that we hit that requires the OEM to now provide some development. So we're in the process of the procurement at the moment. What we've done is we haven't stopped there. We've moved on to phase 4. So phase 4 is for all of you that utilize the bulk, the break bulk, and the automotive sector, which is the GCOS environment, to bring that visibility onto this app. So we're currently in the UAT testing, and we are more or less confident that by the end of this month, we potentially will have that rolled out. But that communication will be sent out as soon as we are ready on that. Then if you look at this next layer, which is your digitalizing manual processes, here there's approximately 24 plus initiatives. Here we're looking mainly around the operational efficiencies, governance, compliance, revenue, and procurement automation. And you see one on the top there somewhere, the paperless drive is one of our big ticket items. On the next one is around the AI initiatives. Here we have about 10 plus use cases that we're dealing with. I think I spoke about the data analytics platform. We spoke about the real-time monitoring of information. But one of them there is around the remote operations project, which I work very closely with my counterpart, Dean, from the engineering and operation technology department, about how to be able to enable us to be able to work those cranes from a remote center rather than being in the crane itself. So that's a project we're enabling through the operational Wi-Fi project that we spoke about initially as well. And on the last bucket, it's more around 14 plus initiatives about business process automation, the repetitive stuff that we do daily. How do we then start to put in automation within that place, put in bots within that place to be able to redo the repetitive work that we're dealing with? And that will bring in a lot of optimization in the finance space, especially in the new business development, operational processes that happen, as well as in the commercial space. Okay, so this is the area where most probably a lot of people will be interested in because it touches the actual operations, and that is the application modernization set. So I'm just going to touch on the key aspects that we're doing in terms of the applications this year, is that although we've started off a lot of the initiatives in the last financial year, a lot of them are still continuing to the new. But under Navis, one of the highlights that we're potentially looking at this year is an upgrade of the terminal operating system. And at the moment, I chose 3.8 is because 3.8 we got to a point, and we've then opted to look at the latest version, which is 4.x. So that takes us into another dimension. So the team is going to be working on that. There is a precursor, however, that we are still busy with, which is a OEM partnership from a managed service point of view that we are working with Navis, which we're kind of going through the procurement event now. And once we put that in place, then it'll be the next steps to start working on the upgrade itself for Navis 4.x. In the subspace, one of the big ticket items that we're currently working with is our S/4HANA upgrade, which is the modernization to the latest version of SAP that gives us far more capabilities and functionalities that's kind of steps below that. So a lot of things have been put onto hold because while we were waiting for this S4 journey. And I'm sure last year, the communication that went out whereby we've tried the implementation in June last year, where we had a failed rollback on the S4 journey. Needless to say that, we've seen a lot of organizations go through this process and fail on S4. So we were one of them that actually succeeded quite well. There was one component of the entire thing that failed, and then it caused us to roll back and rethink. So currently we are in the user acceptance testing phase of the product, of the project, and we anticipate to go live soon, right? It's around the corner. Communication will then come out of that as soon as we confirm the timeline, but I think it will happen in the next month or so, right? We're going to be live. The other part that's important there, which we spoke about, a lot of the executives spoke about the OEM partnerships and the long-term strategy that they have with them. Now, from our perspective, we work with Gene as well in terms of integrating our systems with the OEMs so that we can do those reorders of parts and equipment and whatever that comes through. So it's how to keep that stock flow moving through. So that's another one that we're dealing with. So in SAP, there's approximately about 17 different initiatives that we are working with, including the one where we're actually working with Group. On the GCOS side, GCOS, well, for those that don't know, GCOS is a homegrown Transnet developed system. And I'm proud that I was one of the first developers in that product in 1997. So the product is more than 27 years old, but it's not the same product, right? It's now an iteration 3 of that product. And the big focus area that we have there now is that we on the version 3 iteration, we are on phase 3 of the project, where the intention is to ensure that every port in TPT that is currently running a manual operation gets digitized and gets put onto the solution. So that process is underway. We've already started some of the activities this past financial year. We've seen the Eastern Cape environment where we started to roll out this in the agri sector, within the bulk sector as well. And now we're currently busy with the rest of the Western Cape, and then we're coming back to Richards Bay. The other one that I think is that was always on the plates was the SIE project, which is your service instruction entry or your order processing. How you submit your orders online. There has been delays in that project because of, again, the other initiatives that have been put on the board, and the team has been focusing a lot on the phase 3 project. And we've also lost some resources over the past that were instrumental in developing the blueprints for SIE. So the project has started again. The engagements has been started with the customers as well, in terms of starting to build the blueprint again. And then we will take that forward. And while we're on that, in terms of GCOS, we also have Comtrack that's also interlinked with the GCOS environment, which is the bulk sector environment. So we've just done an upgrade last year in the Port of Richards Bay on the actual product, and we also then re-implemented the solution. So Comtrack is then working in the dry bulk terminal in Richards Bay. This year, we're busy with Saldanha, the iron ore terminal, where Comtrack upgrade is currently in progress. And I think it's towards the third quarter this year that we will then go live with the new version of the product. So colleagues, I think in total, yeah, like I mentioned, that's my journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alvin. So for the first time, actually, GCOS got a face for me now. How it looks like. So IT is not just plugging it in and it will work. There's a lot of things behind it, actually. Thank you very much, Alvin, ladies and gents. A lot of things happening, especially thinking the world we're living in, proximity and stuff like that, and AI and information and POPI Act. And I think you guys need to keep a good balance in terms of what you have, what you need to be, and what you need to integrate. Somebody said to me one day, we're behind integration, we're now in collaboration. So what else should we do in future to make this work? Thank you very much, Alvin. Excellent work you guys are doing. Ladies and gents, so what we're going to do now is we're going to have a panel discussion. So we're going to quickly set up the chairs here at the front. We're going to ask the panelists that's still available for us to kindly come to the front and maybe grab your chair and bring it along if you don't mind. And we'll put it up here and then we'll start doing the panel discussion. So just bear with us for a few minutes that we can set up quickly. Thank you very much. All the panelists to the front, please.
Kids at school. Sitting in front of the principal.
So, ladies and gents, how we're going to do this is obviously we've got a lot of people online following what we're doing, and they would like to see who's talking and so on. So what we're going to do is you're going to put up your hand. I will approach you with the camera and the microphone, and then you can ask your question. You can address your question to one member of the panel or to the panel as a whole. Please keep it short. Do not do your own speech. Just a short question and one question, one short question. Otherwise, I have to ask you to stop. So don't do that to me. And then give me opportunity to approach you. And when you ask a question, identify yourself, who you are, company representing, and as simple as that. So we might take, say, one or two questions. We will give the panel then opportunity to respond. So can we have, Jan, can you bring the preamp a little bit off and down on this one, please? Can we have the first question for the panel? There, we've got one.
Hi, my name is Blyton. I represent DSV. Just a question. What is the latest on the wage negotiation and the ongoing discussions with UNTU? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Another one. Can we take another question?
Good morning. My name is Warwick Lord, and I'm from the Cater Ridge Inland Port. My question is aimed at, we spoke about moving efficiently and specifically rewarding good behavior and penalizing bad behavior, yet the back of port system is currently penalizing those making use of it due to costs, as opposed to the guys that are not making use of it or then having the cheaper cost to collect straight from the seaport itself. How are we looking to address this behavioral change if we are rewarding bad behavior? Thank you.
Thank you, Warwick. The online people can also unmute and ask a question, but not now when I tell you to do so. So let's give the panel opportunity to respond to these two questions.
I think if I can pass to the GCO from the wage negotiation one.
Delegating upwards. Just a quick update. I mean, we obviously have a dispute or UNTU declared a dispute, and obviously they're busy now balloting employees for to vote for strike or no strike. But at the same time, the CCMA offered to mediate between Transnet and UNTU or Transnet and employees, and that mediation, I think, is sitting tomorrow. So the CCMA is going to try and get the two parties to reach some agreement. Should that one fail, and UNTU obviously succeeds in getting employees to agree not to strike, obviously we will have had a strike. But if they get it the other way around, then there's going to be another get together, and hopefully we can find each other. Obviously, this country cannot afford a strike.
The back of port.
If I can try. So to Warwick's question, you're absolutely correct, Warwick, in terms of it's not cost neutral. What we have explored and we've trialed is the back of port solution, where we as TPT, we actually contributed to the cost in terms of repositioning the container from the terminal to a back of port facility. And obviously also likewise when exports are coming in, similar to that as well. Now, what we have seen is that there are some users that loves the solution, and there's others that saying is that, look, as a smaller customer, it does not make sense for me to go to a back of port facility. What we have though found is that where the solution comes into its own and where there's economies of scale, particular larger cargo interest prefers the back of solution, albeit that there's a cost element to it. Because what it does allow them and us to do is that we can actually plan in advance to either discharge containers in such a manner that it goes to one area, it gets loaded onto a train, and we evacuate up to 200 to 300 units directly to a backup port facility instead of coming in and out of the terminal. So I can't say that there is not a cost implication for moving it out. But for those that are time sensitive, it's actually working quite well. So the solution will carrying forward so from this year, 1 April, that component of the trial is no longer there. We are not covering that cost going forward now. And we've not necessarily seen a downturn. There are particular large cargo interests that are certainly continued with the solution. And so for now, we'll say it. And then obviously, when the Cato area also develop as well as a larger hub, I do foresee that there will definitely be an uptake. And that we'll start moving away from this model of having to collect from the port. Actually, I think I would also like to pass on to Oscar, because they've also in the Western Cape, they've done well with the Balcon facility.
Right. This guy is just delegate. I will oblige. Balcon facility, obviously, it's a traditional, really, it's about 16 kilometers or 13 kilometers, but we've seen the uptake, and it just needs 1 or 2 major players to make it work. Especially on the return leg, we have seen just coming into the port, but we've also then escalated the more movements out of the terminal. So what I'm saying, it is a benefit to the transport, especially during wind season. So what we've done, we have then targeted certain shipping lines, certain customers, FMCG companies who's actually taking it on. And what we're doing it is the momentum now to say that is a benefit of that. So we will see cost benefits. It's good. I mean, in terms of this reduction in rail already, in terms of the contract basis, and I can just see that growing from strength to strength is the mindset, and just see 1 or 2 or 3 taking the high road and just go for it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say at the same time, when I've claimed having helped Transnet to set up all these other container terminals, this is one of the areas where I helped Transnet not to do it. In hindsight, the decision was mine. We were supposed to set up a dry port in Cato Ridge, and then have a shuttle that would have then stopped trucks coming into Durban. But at that stage, when I did the business case, no one wanted to pay for it. Meaning the truckers didn't want to pay, the cargo owners didn't want to pay, Transnet didn't want to pay. And eventually I then killed that project. So I'm claiming that one as well, that yes, it is, on hindsight, I wish we had done it. And that the dry port was set up by Transnet, very similar to what we have in Cape Town with Balcon, which is owned by Transnet, and made the shuttle available. And then found ways, on how to collect the funding for that. But yeah, it's one of the mistakes we've made many years back.
Thank you very much, panel. Another question for the panel from the audience. There we've got one.
Good afternoon. Name is Hans Mudipane from SA Cargo. And I think this one is for you, Oscar. First of all, thanks for the presentation. I think you mentioned an innovation at MPT to go from 23 ton skips to potentially 30 tons, shaving off 1.5 days. I might have missed this in your presentation, but I didn't see a mention of the ship loaders. I believe a couple of years ago, there were 2 ship loaders introduced to the operation, which is obviously a faster and more efficient way of loading the ship. So maybe you can just give us an update on whether there's any plans to refurbish, improve the current 2, which maybe I can say didn't really work as intended, or if there's any plans to introduce any new ones there. Thanks.
Thank you. Another question here.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Mark Thompson. I'm from a company called Toyota Tissue Corporation, actually Toyota Tissue Africa, a regional subsidiary. And firstly, thank you to all of you. Thank you to Transport Forum and to Transnet for sharing such a wonderful view of your world. It's very encouraging. And we've been trying to look for opportunity to contribute to the development of road, rail, and transport in South Africa. And the PSP program is just that. So we have had many global successes, and now we are going to be participating in the RFI and extending from there. But it's really encouraging. You know, no one sees what you guys are actually doing. So thank you for opening up that world and to Transport Forum. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, maybe the panel can then respond to that one. Oh, there's one question. Let's take this one.
Thank you very much. I think my first question is with regards to the rail infrastructure manager. We've been talking about the theft of copper and it being a threat to the development and sustainable management of the rail. But my question is there any internal innovative proposals that we're currently working on, or is that something that you can open up to the private sector to sort of see if they can contribute, because it remains a threat. And if we don't hear anything that is progressive in terms of arresting that issue, it remains a problem. And even those that would really want to participate will and are experiencing the hurdle in terms of that issue. And the GCCO mentioned that he killed the shuttle service for the dry port. You know, whatever investigations and research that you've done on that issue, can you kindly share it so that we can see how we resuscitate that project, you know, getting the private sector involved in the process as well. So, and also most of our esteemed speakers, and we appreciate what you said today, mentioned that within the ports, there would be projects that are unsolicited. Can you also share that so that the private sector can see if there is any approach in terms of those and open it widely for more proposals to be submitted in that regard? I'm sorry, my name is Toli Tsibani. I'm from TS Tsibani Consulting, and I'm one of the board members of the Durban Chamber. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a mouthful for the panel. The panel can respond. Thank you.
I'm going to do the first one, which is the easier one. MPT, thanks, Hans, for that question. We have 2 mobile ship loaders, all right. And then coupled with that, we've seen the improvement on the mobile ship loaders and specific certain grades. And we've seen that, and that is about a 40% higher than what we normally do with the skips. So what because there's 4 berths, and we've got iron ore, manganese, and of course the other break bulks. So only 2, but then the skips are probably the 70% usage, and that's where we want to see the advantage of cargo, break bulk, and manganese going through it. On the study that we are doing we are looking at the best practice to optimize it, and it will be conveyor belt system, plus skips will still be there, but a better skip with a 30-ton. So what we are looking at, the first initial assessment was to do a combination thereof. We will then continue with conveyor to improve, because it does present better opportunity to move higher flows.
The train for inland terminals has already left the station. And I'll explain what I mean by that one. And I'll answer that before I answer the trim question. It's that the shipping lines and others have already done their business cases. They've already got the funds, and they're already investing in inland terminals. As we speak, investment is already on the ground, and others is being developed. So they have already done what Transnet would have done. Now they've answered one part of that business case. Who pays? They are paying. So they're paying. They're setting it up, putting warehouses, doing the buying equipment, and doing the extending the rail where there's no rail. So they're doing the work. They're paying. So that's the difference between now and then. whereas in those years, Transnet had to pay for that. So we're not paying for that as Transnet. All Transnet does now is provide the rail service from that area where the inland port is to the wet port. But remember, in future, we now have the network statement that's gone out. Private sector is now allowed to now put their own trains, so they can actually put the dry port there and trains to move the goods from the inland port to the terminal. And remember, if I own a shipping line, the ship is the most costly part of my supply chain. So all others, if they are well organized, I then save cost on the ship not waiting a long time, at the port, and this cost is passed on to the cargo owners. So we now have a solution. So you don't need the old business case. I think the current business case works for shipping lines and their partners to set up this dry ports and then to obviously have trains running up and down, whether the trains are run by TFR or a private sector player. That will then be determined after people have put in their bids. In terms of the innovative solutions for TRIM, the infrastructure manager is subject to this. I had that long list, which I cut short when I was presenting. Obviously, the RFIs have gone out now. They invited the private sector to say, tell us what you want to do. The kind of options, and I'll just touch on options. People may say, I want you to concession the container line from Johannesburg to there, and I want to take over the management of the infrastructure, and I want to invest in the infrastructure, and I invite private train operators to run on the network that I, as the private sector, am now funding and managing. Or I will do that, plus put my own trains on it, and the private sector. So there are many permutations of that. Unfortunately, we can't share presentations that were made in confidence by other private sector parties on what they're offering us. Eventually, we had to stop people presenting. And when they start and say, I've got this idea, we say, hold it, RFI is coming. Hold on, RFI is coming. That's been the answer. So we don't have it anymore in writing. Whatever they tried and write, we don't even open it. We stopped people from presenting. But there were so many of them coming to so many of us that we were being compromised by those unsolicited bids. Now you can do it officially, and obviously do it before the closing date. And in terms of innovation, I mean, you as a private sector should innovate and should propose what the infrastructure manager should do or how they should manage it. In fact, you should be offering to do that on behalf of the infrastructure manager. I think the opportunity is here, and it opens once and it closes. And those that are creative will obviously lead the move from SOE managed infrastructure to a combination of SOE and private sector managed infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Solly. I just want to sensitize the panel that just now when we end, I'm going to ask closing remarks from each one of you. All right. So I'll start just now from Alvin. I'll move up, and then Java will do the close the session. So we've got two hands up. Let's see, Charles Day. You're welcome to unmute and ask your question. Seems Charles got a problem. Said Rosario. Rosario, you can try and unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. The question for, I'm not sure where in the panel, but it goes like this. What I heard through the amazing presentations we heard is one theme, and that is transformation, that the whole of Transnet in general and TPT in particular is that it is innovating its whole corporate culture, its way of doing business, and its systems, particularly its digital systems. Now, my sort of sense tells me that when you do that in an organization, you need to when you do that in an organization, you need to retrain a lot of people. So my question is as follows. Is there a concerted, integrated, and multidisciplinary program in place at TPT stroke Transnet in order to re-educate its workforce towards customer centricity, towards the new digital era, and to equip it for the changes that are coming? Thanks.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate the question. Let's see, Rosario, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Good afternoon, colleagues. It's Ian Rosario, actually. I'm using Rosario's link. I work with MSC, for those who don't know me. My question is specifically with regards to the remarks made by Earl Peters, and he mentioned with the bird deepening project, the maximum draft would be 14.2 or 14.5. I couldn't quite get him. So this is kind of a bit worrisome that with that project, we extending the berth into the sea by about 50 meters. And and when it is deepened to about 14.2 or 14.5, of the permissible draft would be 14.2 or 14.5 meters, we then are not gaining much in terms of depth, because already we've got vessels that are drawing 13.5 meters calling the Port of Durban. So we gain just 1 meter with this project. By virtue of 1 meter, let's say even if it's 1 meter, we do about 300 boxes or 400 boxes additional. With the latest generation vessels, you've got vessels that are drawing up to 16.7, 16.5 to even 17 meters. So I'm not sure if that was a mistake, or was it, or that is what is planned. And if that's what is planned, I think we need to review. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Can I add one here from the chat? And that's Elvin Harris. He's got a concern as a question is for the Group Chief Operating Officer. He said the 5 years to fix the network that the Group COO spoke about. What could be the stumbling blocks that could curtail this plan in terms of money, procurement, processes, capacity to execute, etc.? So that's the question from Elvin Harris. I think we should be able to close the panel now with the first, with the round of questions. And are there still more questions? Okay, so we will give the panel opportunity to respond, and then we'll take the next question.
Sabotage. We've got, we've got a head of our people management process called Chief of People, and with a big staff, and we've got a Transnet academy that is well equipped with all this, very highly educated people to drive change management, to drive culture change. And we've got obviously companies that we work with inside of Transnet. So there is a big program that's being driven now to manage change, to influence culture, and to train people and prepare them for all of these changes that are coming. And we're busy. Some of the changes obviously are still being designed. Once we reach that point where it has to be communicated and shared with employees, a whole program will support that. So we are aware that none of the changes that are planned for the future will work without the employees. So we start off with our own with ourselves first as leadership, and then roll that out to employees. So there is a very well organized program in place to support innovation, culture change, and obviously we're going to approach it in a multidisciplinary fashion, including, as you say, most of the things we do, private sector is always involved. So there will be members of the private sector that have been, obviously given contracts to work along with Transnet to deliver on this. I know this could be handled easily by my colleague here. The berth deepening is 16.5 meters. And I think what El was saying is that vessels of 14.5 that need of 14.5 could actually then operate there. So yeah, Rosario, Captain Rosario, it is 16.5. That's the target to deepen there. Just keep so that sorts out that problem. In terms of the barriers for restoring the network, I think I shared them in my presentation very well. First one I said is the yellow equipment that you need to restore this network. That's the one. The other part that we have is obviously the crime that is taking place that destroys everything we do, then destroy it, especially on the signaling and the power supply. We fix it, it gets damaged, then we have to go back to fix that. That's the other barrier. And obviously funding is always a barrier because there's more money required than what we can borrow. And in terms of compressing it, and I did indicate that, yes, the plan shows that it'll take 5 years. However, if we get sufficient numbers of this yellow equipment and obviously the material that goes along with it, we can compress that to about 3 years. So we're working on that. I hope I've answered that. So it is the plan that we've seen now, based on all of the constraints that we have, will take us 5 years. However, we're working on how we can compress it to 3 years, and we understand what are those barriers, and I've shared some of them.
Thank you. We've got another question here. Let me just grab this camera.
Thank you. My name is Andy Lebono from Autoforce and AB. I'd just like to commend Oscar on the volume growth that they are anticipating at the Port of Saldanha MPT. And one of the key strategies there is that they want to integrate with back of ports facilities. I'm sure there is a strategy where you would then be calling all the back of ports that exist around there or within the port infrastructure, involving other areas as well, not just Saldanha. So if there's such, we would also like to be invited in those workshops. We are very keen on opening a footprint within Saldanha. And then the same goes for bulk. There's been an opportunity where volumes have been lost in the old bulk facility. This goes for Zukile there. And we see through MPT, they've managed to recoup there's about 7 million tons there that were recouped through MPTs. I just need to say to the PE team, maybe it's time to add to the 3 existing back of ports that are on MECA within the PE precinct. We can add new ones. Definitely, we won't forfeit as much cargo as we've done through the bulk facility. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is an example of an unsolicited bid. You guys were witnesses to the kind of things we get. So yes, he'll say that, and I'll have another one say the same thing and another one. So hence the minister has gone out on RFI. So please type, brother, type and send it through.
Thank you, sir. All right, there is one question. Let's make this the last question, then we'll go to the closing remarks.
Thanks, Harry. Morgan Woodley from SAPI. Just a question to you, Solly, is just on the rehabilitation of the South Coast Line. It's been down now since the floods 2021. Almost 5 years down now, and yeah, we haven't seen the light from that perspective. If you're looking at moving more volume from road to rail, here's a huge opportunity of almost 1 million tons to actually get it back to rail. I know the big stumbling block might be finance and for actually getting the Lobo Bridge rebuilt. So maybe just a stance between Transnet. I know it's a PRASA line as well, but just an overview on what the future outlook of that line is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is what I referred to when a team of people came to see the Minister of Transport, and I was in that session. and he turned that around. It was exactly one of them, was that one that you're mentioning. He said, guys, come to us with a proposal. Government doesn't have the money now. And, if you're going to wait for Transnet, wait for government, you're going to wait for a long time. Now, give us proposals, funded proposals, and let us then do something about it together. So from a Transnet point of view, there is 30,000 kilometers of rail, of which maybe I can say 20,000 needs to be fixed. At figures, some would have had me on TV mentioning billions. I don't even want to go back to the number I put on there. It's huge. So we're going to have to prioritize. And from a priority point of view, it means corridors that have dense traffic, high traffic, that can fund themselves, get preference over the less dense ones from a Transnet point of view, because we have to borrow money that we repay. So if we don't have the ability to repay, then the business case doesn't work. So you will find that all of those lines that have got less traffic, we are begging, going to government and asking for funding. And where we get it, obviously it'll be done. But at the moment, you've listened to the minister present his budget, there was zero money that flowed to Transnet. Worldwide, if I can just digress a little bit, you will find that most countries subsidize the rail, so that you make, just like you do on road. You're building a road, people are running on it. Some roads are tolled, but majority of the roads are not. Rail should be treated similarly, because then you allow people to you allow this movement from road to rail. You can't subsidize road and not subsidize rail and expect that rail will fix itself and by miraculously move cargo from road to rail. So this is political speak. And we obviously, Transnet does require a lot of financial support to provide a service to the country where it's not based on financial returns of putting that in, but it's based on the benefit to the rest of the country and companies that need that facility. Even if it's not profitable for rail, may be profitable for the country because of the number of products and that can be moved there, that can be exported and in the country some well needed, job creating jobs, and also in the country well needed revenue. So some of these projects, Harry, should not be justified through Transnet's own benefit, but through the country's benefit and financed through government or other mechanisms. Not on because right now all of the projects we approach them exactly like you would in private sector. What's the investment? What are the returns? And most of them don't work. You put it in, but you can't get a return. An example is the berth deepening one, for example.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that. Ladies and gents, so what we're going to do now, we're going to ask closing remarks. And we'll start here from the IT perspective, and we work down. Only one.
Yeah.
Only one. Okay.
Yeah, Harry, my apologies. Obviously, this will save a bit of time for us. I think I personally, Harry, have been avoiding your conference for many years, 20 years to be precise. So it's the first time. And I'd like to just thank you and Billy, where's Billy? The man that wants to look older than he is. So yes, I am here, and the the TPT team did invite me, and I accepted the invite that I've been saying no to for a long time. But I can see the need for more information sharing with the stakeholders. Some of the information, some of you knew about it, and you're not hearing it for the first time, especially those that sit with L and sit with most of our organization. Without having to give each one of them a chance, I say on behalf of Transnet, really, we like to thank all of those that participated in this by being there and listening to us, spread the information further. We obviously want to we don't come to Transnet for work. I mean, I should be relaxing somewhere, retired on a beach, but I believe I have a duty, and I've rejoined Transnet to as I've got experience, I've got skills that the country can utilize, and so do all of my colleagues that have. And so we are there to serve. We're not here to work. Yes, we get paid, but the most important thing is that we are there to serve. And this is part of our service to you. And we will do whatever we are mandated to do to improve this service. And we know we've got the skills. We may not have the money, but we definitely have the will, the passion, and the masses of 50,000 employees who want to deliver. I have been now back for 10 months, 11, whatever it is, 9 months. So, and every employee I have not met a single one who is not prepared to work hard to turn this business around. Everybody wants to. I mean, yes, there is a self-preservation in terms of jobs, but there's also that passion of being a Transnetter that wants to deliver a service to the country. And that kind of culture exists majority of the people. So we can harness that and utilize this to deliver the right type of service to the country. We share with you this information so that you at least understand what we are about, what we are doing. Yes, there's a lot of negative criticisms out there. Some of it self-benefit. Failure of Transnet does create business opportunities for others. But I believe that you don't have to have Transnet fail for private sector to join in. You can actually have a successful Transnet that's working along with the private sector and delivering much higher value to the country rather than focus on replacing Transnet as a service provider. Thank you, Harry.
Thank you so much. Let's give them a hand. Indeed. Thank you very much, Sol, also for joining in today and accepting the invite. Thank you very much for TPT, Jabo, and your team for hosting us today. We really appreciate it. And thanks go out to Standard Bank for hosting us and catering for us. So let's give all of them a big hand for making it possible. Right, and we're looking forward to the next event here again with TPT and Transnet. We're saying goodbye now, Jan, to the online people. Ladies and gents, now the important thing is the lucky draws. And then we're going to do lunch sponsored by Standard Bank. So thank you very much, guys. We're going to send around a little box that you can put your business card in. If you haven't got a business card, then put the name tag. Just remove the paper from the plastic and you put it in here, and then